All right. Are we ready? There is a lot to talk about here. So let me get us over into space news here. So, space and rocket review. Actually, it's not that there's a lot to talk about. There's just a lot of things. So, all right, let's get to this. Usually I take links. I forgot to tell you about the American Pigeon Museum. Okay. Anything else? Or, I mean... It's in Oklahoma, and it's your new favorite thing in Oklahoma. We're not going there. More interesting things in your Discord DMs. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty neat. Here's the pick I was talking about. I screwed up the streak, so I tried to recover with this. I like that. That's a nice shot. They have 12 species of pigeons. I didn't even know there were 12 species of pigeon. We're not going there. I'll say it again. I didn't want to go there, but now you're so adamant that not going makes not wanting to go makes you want to go more. Great start to the space news today. Why will Orion's service module use the same AJ-10 as the shuttle's OMS engine instead of a more powerful version of the AJ-10? Use what works, Ryan. Look at all the pigeons. Are we watching the in-flight crew review? Yeah. Oh yeah, space news. That's right. So check this out. I'm gonna start with a little bit of a follow-up yesterday. So yesterday I basically said we didn't get any footage from Inspiration 4 after the launch, and folks were a little bit upset about that. You know. I didn't weigh in on it. I tried to stay like right in the center. This is commercial space flight, you know, so they don't have any right. We don't have any right to demand anything of a commercial space flight to be transparent. With that being said, you know, some people were pissed off about this. Some people weren't. I don't know. It's kind of in the middle. If they didn't want to share it, that's fine, you know, but a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not very inspired from this. Well, here you go. Here you go. The Inspiration 4 crew will share a live on-orbit update about their multi-day journey aboard the Dragon spacecraft at 5 p.m. That's in 20 minutes. That's, well, 15 minutes from now. So, that's what we're going to watch at the beginning of Space News here. We were getting pictures from Inspiration 4. There's the stream for it. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in here. There was a tab that I lost. I don't know where it is. Space News. I'm not taking any more Space News links today, Phil. I appreciate it, though, but I don't Dude, the draft environmental assessment came out. Let's not kid ourselves. We're gonna spend like 3 hours discussing that. I'm not even gonna. I mean, but then again, we do have some time before. We do have some time before. For Inspiration 4 starts. So you know what? Let's try to cram. We can cram it right now. That's fine. I should be able to get everything else in. So that's the big news that we'll discuss after Inspiration 4. How are you 4 minutes into the future? I've never heard of a BIOS clock being incorrect. That's weird. How the hell did that happen? You haven't got the time synced, have you? It was synced the other day. It's been like that for months. How do I know that, Lunprod? How do I know that? How do I know that for sure? I don't know that for sure. You see, you could say, oh, well, I've been watching Yvonne. It's been like that for months. Da, da, da. Yeah, but how do I know? I clearly just time traveled. How do I know it's right? I could be in a parallel dimension right now. The climate thing, isn't that a touch Rule 80? I mean, in the... What climate thing? What the hell are you talking about? Because wind blows doesn't really update the time often. I've literally never had a Windows clock desync like that until now. And that's because there was a Windows update. I noticed it a few weeks ago, but assume it was just the stream. Strange, man. I don't know. I ain't gonna make a big deal out of it. Check this out. The Atlas V is stacked for the Landsat 9 launch. Right there, out at Slick 3. They, let's read. Atlas V booster for the Landsat 9 undergoes a dress rehearsal at Vandenberg Space Force Base, Vandenberg Space Force Base Space Launch Complex 3 in California on September 3rd. September 3rd. Tree. 4-5. Alright. Landsat 9, the Landsat 9 mission, which is being managed by NASA's LSP, based at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, is targeted for net September 27, 2021. Landsat 9 will monitor key natural and economic resources from orbit. Cool. Atlas V. Atlas V. This was the wet dress rehearsal, but it's a nice picture. They have since mated the satellite. We covered that yesterday. Ooh. Hello. Hey. Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
That's not Landsat 9. My problem is that the only people that know about this are going to search the documentary. My problem is that the only people that already know about this are going to search for the documentary on Netflix. It should be translated in 50 languages, broadcast on every TV, pinned on the YouTube channel. It could be inspired. Not only people that are inspired will watch the documentary anyway. I hate paywalls in the first place. And join the club. I'm with you on that one. Hey, Freddy, 38-month resub. Hey, Vulcan, how are you? Oh, hey, how you doing? Bridge crane. Look at that. The umbilicals for Atlas go through the doors into the mobile service tower. Strange. That's they always do the pads a little differently out at Vandenberg. like Atlas at Vandenberg, the Atlas V has a fixed service structure, but out at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station or Space Force Station, it has a mobile launcher, which is weird. Nothing puts a big old grin on my face like seeing a grin on Haley's. I don't know what it is. Maybe knowing what she went through and seeing where she is now, but I'm totally... Dude, Haley has the most infectious smile I think I've ever seen in a person. Ever. She's... Dude. Nice. Nah, Dish, I get exactly what you're saying, man. She has the most infectious smile I've ever seen. Like, that's... Yeah, Ray Smith, she's happy to be... You know that smile was earned, man. It was earned. That's pretty cool. She's a fighter. She's tough as nails, man. No, seriously, she took Taekwondo. She'll mess you up. My smile is earned, public? I don't know. Is my smile a Supra? One of the side boosters for the Arabsat 6A and SCP-2 missions were seen rolling past the VAB. Alright. Yeah, Ditch, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Let's check it out here. Junk, 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 junk. Ferd, junk, junk. Sorry, it's okay. I'll watch the first few episodes on Netflix. She's an amazing person. Bro, is that a Supra? Alright. There you go. Okay, that's a Falcon Heavy booster going to the Falcon reintegration building. The semi. Mazdas are pretty cool. It's front wheel drive. Jaeger, you get it. That Lexus is kind of cool. It's going to KSCVC. Goalie aren't 2 boosters? You said something about that. How many boosters are they going to put in there anyway? It's going to the new building at the visitor center. I saw it on Wednesday. Huh. Are they gonna, so they're going to have... That was my knee. Ow! Why, foot? Why you do this? Okay, I'm over it. So how many boosters are they going to have in that building? Yo! Oh, God, my foot's asleep. My foot is totally asleep. Like, Thomas, I'm curious how they're going to set that all up. Hangar X, apparently. Interesting. Strange. SpaceX is live. You're tearing myself apart, DJ. You're tearing yourself apart. Guys, SpaceX is live. Alright. One last bit of news here. Word. That's cool, goalie. Alright, so what's this next news? Yet another agreement is signed to convert the Zenit launch facility in Baikonur for the new generation Soyuz 5. Now promised to fly in 2023. The full history of signings in the past decade is here. Yeah, we covered this yesterday. Cool. Alright, that's the last bit. And then there's this Lockheed news here. I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. That... I'm really confused. Well, this Twitter thread's a dumpster fire, so we'll check that out. We'll check that out some other time. That's literally going to take up all of Space News after this, Jack. Yep. God, New Astronauts is such a good song, dude. I love that SpaceX just plays this song all the time, dude. It's such a good song. Monty, what's going on? That's the band that they use the most. Nyet, nyet, no, no. Ah! That's it. All right. The landing is like 25 hours away? This isn't the landing. Should see the capsule re-enter if it's a clear night, goalie.
Good afternoon.
Andy?
My name is Andy Tran, and I'm a quality engineer here at SpaceX. Welcome, everyone, to our live on-orbit conversation with the Inspiration 4 crew. On Wednesday, September 15th at 5:02 p.m. Pacific time, the Inspiration 4 crew, the world's first all-civilian human spaceflight to orbit, lifted off aboard SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft from historic Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And it has been an incredible mission so far. Inspiration 4 is commanded by Jared Isaacman, sitting in the third seat from the left-hand side. He is the founder and CEO of Shift4 Payments and an accomplished pilot and adventurer. Joining him from left to right on screen are
Yes,
mission
QA,
specialist
Cozy.
Chris
It's one of the hardest
Sembrowski,
jobs that
an
you can
Air
do.
Force veteran and aerospace data engineer, mission pilot Dr. Cyan Proctor, a geoscientist, entrepreneur, and trained pilot, and on the far right-hand side, medical officer Haley Arsenault, a physician assistant at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and pediatric cancer survivor. After Falcon 9 separated from Dragon, Dragon completed 2 uphill phasing burns to reach its intended target orbit with altitudes as high as 590 kilometers above the Earth's surface.
Animal.
The Inspiration 4 astronauts then doffed or took off their spacesuits, completed on-orbit cabin configuration operations, and conducted their first round of scientific research. Before catching a few hours of sleep, they enjoyed their first meals together, one of which was pizza, which was a very surreal moment for them because we heard the crew saying, and I quote, "I can't believe we're eating cold pizza in space. It's extraordinary." Yesterday, the Inspiration 4 crew opened the forward hatch to get their first look out of Dragon's cupola, the largest window to ever fly in space. They made a few phone calls and also recorded an event with patients of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which was incredible. And thank you so much to the kids who joined us for that.
Well
And in
said,
case
Demon.
you missed it during the live
Poppers!
webcast shortly after reaching orbit, Inspiration 4 crew
Postal.
revealed their
Poppers!
zero-G indicator at the center of your screen, a space
Poppers!
dog plush. It was inspired by St. Jude Children's Research Hospital specially trained facility dogs that were on sale, but they sold out within the hour. The crew has now been in orbit for about 2 days and are getting ready to give a live update of their
Good
time on
pumpers.
Dragon so far. Now, communicating with a spacecraft that is moving 17,500 miles an hour can be pretty tricky. If you've watched previous crew missions, you know that we can only talk to the crew when they're flying over a designated ground station. The amount of time that we have connectivity with the crew varies depending on the location of the ground station and the position of the spacecraft on orbit. For this particular opportunity, we expect to have the crew for about 10 minutes of connectivity to talk to Inspiration 4. If for some reason we aren't able to connect with the crew on this pass, we do have another opportunity in about 30 minutes to try again. Now, we are expecting the crew to join us in just a few moments, so stay with us, and the next voices you should hear should be that of Jared Isaacman and the Inspiration 4 crew.
I guess not, Train Man. They gotta have an acquisition of signal through Goon Hilly. Should be happening momentarily, actually. Looking at where Dragon is positioned in that spot. 5 minutes, probably less. Fast forward. Preparing to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Fast forwarding now. Man, we were way behind.
And copy that, SpaceX. Welcome everybody to Crew Dragon Resilience. We're cruising right now at 580 kilometers above the Earth, going about 7.6 kilometers per second. So we're really booking. We're seeing the world every 90 minutes. That's how fast we're traveling around it. It's pretty incredible. So we're excited you're here to join us today. We're going to introduce the crew of Inspiration 4, and then we're going to show you around some of the cool aspects about this spacecraft we're on right now. So pass.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Sembrowski. I'm the mission specialist here, and we've been doing a lot of great things here, like looking out the window at Earth, just like we're going to show you through the cupola in a moment. And I hope we get to share other cool things like some of the medical experiments and some of the more human side of things that we've brought up here into space with us today. So pass it on over.
Hi everyone, I'm Cyan Proctor and I am the mission pilot, and I hope to show you some of the art that I've been doing in a little bit.
A little bit more and I'll pass it off to
Hey
Haley.
guys, thanks for joining us here on Crew Dragon. My name is Haley Arsenault. I'm the medical officer of the mission, and excited to show you about the research that we've been doing, as well as how much fun it is to be in microgravity.
All right, so with that, what we'd like to start off, because we think the views will be pretty incredible, is we want to take you up into the cupola so you can see the largest continuous window ever flown in space and the views that it affords.
Haley's creeping on me, guys. I'm going to move over here. Over here, she's creeping on me.
And while we're getting our forward hatch open right here for this big reveal, we just want to thank everyone back at home who's been contributing to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital as part of this YouTube channel right now.
The airlock
so a big part of our mission here at Inspiration 4 is to inspire what can be done here in space, because there's an awful lot of it, and we got to get out and explore it, but also what our responsibilities that we need to take care of back on Earth. And top on our list right now is conquering childhood cancer, and that's why we're supporting St. Jude.
Wow, look at all the space in there. Oh my goodness.
Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, we've just gone into darkness, but you can see right above us, over there, hopefully you're getting a good view of that, the night lights. And so every time we go to the darkness, we get this amazing view.
That's so cool.
Oh, that looks like the aurora. Oh, wow. We have an aurora event. It looks like off to our right. I hope you guys can see that.
You gotta wait until the sun goes down. Give it a
second. We are currently over
See
Europe.
the nose cone behind him?
And we have been spending so much time in this cupola. We can put our head, this is the largest window ever flown in space. We can put our head in and fit multiple crew members and see the entire perimeter of the Earth, which gives such incredible perspective, and the views, I have to say, are out of this world.
Space jokes.
So while we're getting some goodies out to show you here, some of the equipment we brought on board, maybe we can show you about some of the science we've been doing here. So Nova here is showing off our portable ultrasound, which we've been able to use for a number of different experiments, including intrajugular, also measuring our cornea and optic nerve for indications on intracranial pressure. And we also do a couple other scans with it as well that are quite useful.
It's been really interesting to see how fluid shifts with this microgravity environment, and that's something that scientists are looking at. And so we are happy to contribute with that. We've also been taking several swabs of different parts of our body to evaluate the microbiome and how that changes in these 3 days in space. We've also been giving a bunch of samples, blood samples, for the research teams, and as well as doing cognitive tests.
Hey everyone, I have really enjoyed learning how to use markers in space, and so I've got these metallic markers right here, and last night I drew this.
That's a Ziploc bag.
So there's my rendition, my art of the Dragon capsule being carried by a dragon off of Earth.
Pretty rad. From now on, we will call space art Spart.
Hi, everyone. So another thing that we've been doing on this whole mission, just like Sai showed off, is because we're trying to open the frontier for more people and open up space to more humans, we're going to be bringing more of our humanities with us. And so, along with art and music, and so we've had this custom ukulele that was made. It's got our I4 patch there, and it's right there inlaid on the fretboard. So it's been a lot of fun getting some practice on some music while we're floating around the Earth. So I can play a little for you, but you can turn your volume down if you wish, but I'll give it a shot.
Giving yourself an out there, Chris, huh?
And it's still before coffee. It's still before coffee, so it'll get better as the day goes on.
Yep, he's an engineer. Yep, that guy's definitely an engineer.
So So one of the most fun parts of being in space is microgravity, or this lack of gravity that has enabled us to do all kinds of cool flips and spins. I shall demonstrate a few, if I can not run into too many walls.
Do a flip.
Haley is a champ at spinning. She's been spinning from the moment we got on orbit.
I believe it. Do a
I have
flip.
to say it's a lot of fun and enables us to lift really heavy things without any issue.
Gotta close the hatch. Coggers!
So on that note, while we're in microgravity, we want to show you our zero-G indicator, which is, it's got a lot of history in spaceflight. It's the first thing that kind of gets released when engines cut off and you make it into orbit. And we picked a very special zero-G indicator for Inspiration 4. So Nova's retrieving it right now, and she's going to tell you a little bit about it and why it's so important to our mission.
Poppers.
So this was the first thing that we got to throw out whenever we made it to space to show that we really were in a zero-gravity environment.
It's down here.
And this little guy, who's very cute, he represents the St. Jude therapy dog. So St. Jude has a couple of different golden retriever dogs that are able to sit with the kids when they're scared. They climb up in bed with the kids, and they'll even go through the MRI machine or the CAT scan machine before the kids do to show them that it's not so scary. And so we wanted to bring one of these really sweet dogs to space. But what's really cool is these dogs are on sale, and all the money from the sales of our zero-G indicators are going to go to St. Jude. And I mean, we have to show off some more zero gravity. Look how the water spins.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dude, look at the surface tension on the water. I'm in the way again. All right, cool. How about I go over here? No, don't move the bottle over here. Jeez. Oh, that's so trippy. Cool,
Well, thanks so
man.
much for tuning in today and checking in with us on Inspiration 4. So we're really proud to share this experience with everyone. We know how fortunate we are to be up here. We're giving all of our time right now to science research and some ukulele playing, and trying to raise some good awareness for an important cause for us back on Earth. But appreciate you joining in with us, and we'll see you soon.
And there you have it, a live on-orbit update from the Inspiration 4 crew orbiting Earth in our Dragon spacecraft. Looks like they're having an amazing time in space. The Inspiration 4 crew is set to splash down tomorrow, Saturday, September 18th at approximately 4:06 p.m. Pacific time. Live webcast coverage will begin approximately 1 hour prior at 3 p.m. Pacific time, both on SpaceX.com and the SpaceX YouTube channel. As a reminder, the Inspiration 4 crew is using this mission as a fundraising effort for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see a Donate Now button on the right-hand side of your screen. If you can help the team meet their goal of $200 million, we would definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much for everyone joining us today, and we hope to see you again tomorrow for Splashdown.
Yep. And then behind there, and then over here behind Andy, you can see there's a fairing being made. Falcon 9 fairing. See it right there? You see that huge thing right there? That's the fairing. So this is a unflown Merlin vacuum engine from a Falcon 9 1.0. This guy right here, that's the first Dragon capsule that SpaceX ever sent into space. Yeah. Back there in this inside of this glass area, that's where they make the fairings. It's a non-FOD area, so you don't want anything getting in the weave. They have a huge mandrel, you can see it right there, that they basically wrap the carbon fiber around, and then they put aluminum in between that, and then they wrap the aluminum around the carbon fiber that's already around the mandrel. And then they put it in a gigantic autoclave. It's a huge easy bake oven for fairings. Yeah, fairings are made like a layered cake almost. It's actually the manufacturing equivalent. You can see one being made back there. See the dark thing that's moving around? That's a fairing. Yeah. See? That's the bottom of the Falcon 9 fairing, and then, yep, the nose cone would be right there. See? Yep. And then over here, behind the Dragon capsule, is Merlin 1D assembly and Merlin 1D integration. So they make Merlins back here, the Merlin 1D engine and the MVAC engines. They make them there. They'll send them off to McGregor. They'll send them out the dock, which is at the very end back there, or the sides, and then they'll bring them back, and they'll integrate all the Merlins into a thrust structure to make sure that they work. Falcon 9, there's a Falcon 9 thrust structure right here, and then there's a jig for them there to make sure all the connections work. And then they move the thrust structure back there, and then they attach it to the barrel. Barrel assembly for first and second stages is way in the back there. It's behind all this. And then right here, you can see these hanging offices right there. That's where the engineers work. SpaceX is truly vertically integrated. The engineers are literally right next to where the stuff is actually made, for Falcon 9 at least. I mean, it's the same thing in Starbase too, but yeah. No problem, Pulse. Where's the bathroom? I mean, do you really want to know where the bathroom is? I can tell you where the bathroom is. It's, so Andy was up on the mezzanine. At the very front where they do the cast from is the cafeteria. It's right next to mission control. So, the bathroom is just to the left of the mezzanine. It's a nice bathroom. Yes, I've been in it. Yeah, 04. I've been in there. Yep.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
That's right, Hell Hydra. Barkwell, 58-month resub. Well, the elevator is behind the camera in relation to that last shot. The elevator is right by SpaceX's server rooms. And the server rooms that SpaceX has a Xenomorph and a T-800 model in it, full-sized. True story. And it says Cyberdyne Systems in it. You think I'm kidding? There's a window to it, and the elevator is right here. The mezzanine is that way. Yeah, I've walked right past this, dude. I've stood right where this camera is. Yeah, yeah. They call their server room, yeah, Cyberdyne. Not sure how I feel about that. Not sure how I feel about that one. Here, let me see if there's another picture. Yeah. Dude, they got all the lighting inside of the server room. The server room does look like this. Huh. What have they added? Dude, a Cylon and freaking Iron Man suit. Yeah, no, SpaceX's, the server room does look like that. I remember the blue lights. I haven't been there in a little while. I was there in 2016? 2016 was the last time I was there. Where's the T-800? Don't know. There was a T-800 and a Xenomorph when I was in there previously. They may have changed it. Alright, so that's your Inspiration 4 update. The rest of space news I've pretty much allocated to this news right here. So, I need another cup of coffee if we're going to discuss this. I need another cup of coffee. All right, now that I have my coffee, I'm ready to watch radar. Switch to teleview. Switch to teleview. What'd you do? I turned off the screen. No, you didn't. You turned off the whole stream. Well, put it back on. Put the movie back on. All right, we're back. And we have the combination. All right, so the FAA released the draft programmatic environmental assessment for the SpaceX Starship Super Heavy project in Boca Chica, Texas. It's now open for public comment until October 18th. This is a big deal, all right? Why is it a big deal? Well, multiple things. The big one, first and foremost, is that draft environmental assessment is a major step towards launching Starship out of Texas. We know that SpaceX wants to do an orbital flight test. This draft environmental assessment to basically figure out what building a gigantic launch site is going to do to the local environment is basically the hurdle that SpaceX needs to be given the green light basically for orbital missions, for sending starships up into space. Yes, I try. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a big deal. This was one of the last major hurdles for them basically to open up this test. Now, yesterday, we, believe it or not, did talk about Starship. We talked about Starship and how long we think it's going to take. The draft environmental assessment is, like I said, one of the last things, one of the last hurdles that they needed to get over, right? And because of this, you can extrapolate, for the most part, when SpaceX, give or take, is going to try and attempt to launch this thing. Now, if you go back over here and look, the draft environmental assessment needs 30 days, give or take, 30 days for public comment to make sure nobody has a problem with it and to make sure, to basically confirm the findings as a part of, FAA transparency, right? Full PEA document. Oh. Cool. Yeah, I have all the documents opened up across the board here, but we'll go in here and we'll open up the big one. I didn't really want to open it up in a new tab, but that's cool. All right, we can do that basically now. From Texas, instead of shipping stuff over to Florida, Warder, you're not thinking about that right. Remember, airplanes. Now, keep in mind, this part on my this is speculation, but let me give you an example. It's no secret that SpaceX literally references 747s as the benchmark for rocketry in almost every single podcast every single webcast that they do about launching. So, I will use the 747's production plant as an example. Every single 747 ever flown was built here. Now, with that being said, do they ship them to another airport in pieces, build them there, and then fly them? No. No. They do final checkout here, they take off, and they fly to wherever their destination is. Right? I think that Boca Chica is the Everett plant for Starship. Boca Chica's down here. The orbital launch site is over here, and I'll tell you more about that in a second, but I think that they're going to launch Starships. They're going to launch Starships on a test flight. They'll do an orbit once around, basically, and they'll come down. They'll re-enter and come down, basically, here. Wherever their launch site is needed. Or they'll move them by truck. But I think that's the plan for Starship, to operate it. To operate Starship like an airplane. Could be by boat as well, Henry. Yep. How will they get Super Heavy to other places? Now, Super Heavy, I'm not sure. I think Super Heavies might be moved around by boats, actually. Starships don't have to. But, John, I think Super Heavy is a part of the launch pad. How I'm looking at that is that it's part of the launch pad. Yeah, it's a piece of, it's not ground surface equipment, but I think Super Heavies will stay with their launch pad in the future, if I'm thinking about this correctly. So, Super Heavy, all that does is just put Starships up into space, comes back down, lands on the pad, they put another Starship up, and then in Florida, they'll have a couple of Super Heavies for the pad, and all you got to do is just keep putting upper stage and keep putting Starships on it. I think that's how that's going to work. But why don't we look into the environmental assessment and see what's happening here? The Boca Chica environmentalist community must be on fire right now. Well, hey, being available for public Discord is the reason why they do this. So, let's go in and let's see what we can find. Draft programmatic environmental assessment for the SpaceX Super Heavy Launch Vehicle program at SpaceX Boca Chica. All right. Table of contents. All right, let's take a look. Background. Let's just, whoa. Okay. Oh dear. Oh, okay. In 2014, the FAA published the final environmental impact assessment from the SpaceX Texas launch site and the record of decision. In 2014, the EIS analyzed the environmental consequences of issuing SpaceX licenses and/or experimental permits for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launch operations, as well as the operation of reusable suborbital launch vehicles from a new launch site in Cameron County, Texas. Boca Chica. The analysis in the 2014 EIS also analyzed the potential impacts from construction of infrastructure and operation of the launch site. SpaceX no longer plans to conduct launches of its Falcon 9 launch vehicles from this launch site. You're not reading this whole thing. You guys are going to get the cliff notes, okay? I'm just reading the background. I want to know if there's anything here. This is an important thing to understand, and this is why I started with the background. So, there was an environmental impact statement from the FAA done in 2014, but it was for Falcon 9s. This has been a point of contention for everybody. Everybody's like, oh, SpaceX is violating an environmental assessment. Clearly, clearly it's not that big of a deal because now the FAA made another one. You know what I mean? That environmental assessment, if I'm remembering correctly, was to launch basically about 6 Falcon 9s out of Texas every year, maximum. So that's why people were out and about saying that their environmental assessment doesn't work anymore. But while they were saying that, at the same time, they were already redoing the environmental assessment from the previous one. This is what I mean about SpaceX doing their homework. Everybody's like, oh, SpaceX built the fixed service structure. They built Mechazilla without permit from the FAA. No. Not true. That's not how that works, man. There's no way they would forego millions of dollars like that on a maybe. Not a chance in hell. SpaceX only does that with rockets, okay? And that's even during testing. Even then, they don't do it when, they don't do that when, they're on like super serious missions, 24-hour reading stream, please. I'm going to take a nap since I will just watch the Spark Notes for the Cliff Note at the end of the space news. All right. I agree, Zythera. Anyway, let's keep going, and that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see if they touched on that, and they absolutely did. Let's find the good stuff. Let's find the good stuff. All right, take a look at the table of contents. We'll get the background, description of proposed action, and alternatives. Let's start there. I'm honestly looking for pictures. Okay. Launch and landing control center, vertical launch area. Okay, that's nothing we didn't know. Oh, hey. Commodities on the ground surface equipment include nitrogen, water, oxygen, gaseous methane, gaseous nitrogen, helium, hydraulic fluid, liquid oxygen, and liquid methane. Okay, yep, nothing we didn't know. Proposed annual operations. All right. The Starship Super Heavy program includes tank test, pre-flight operations, and suborbital launches okay, I gotta reread that sentence. The Starship Super Heavy program includes tank tests, pre-flight operations, suborbital launches, and orbital launches. SpaceX is still in the testing stages of the launch vehicle, including ongoing Starship prototype tests that have been approved under a separate license as discussed above. SpaceX also will need to conduct similar tests of Super Heavy prototypes, which has not yet been approved under a separate license. In the early stages of the Starship Super Heavy program, SpaceX would conduct more tests, tank tests, static fires, suborbital launches, and fewer orbital launches annually. As discussed below, if SpaceX becomes more successful with their testing, the program would shift to more orbital launches and fewer ground testing. Well, the number of each operation may vary each year throughout the proposed launch program. SpaceX would not exceed the number of annual operations described below per year at its Boca Chica launch site. Okay, Starship static fire tests. They can only do that during the day, 150-second tests maximum. Super Heavy static fire tests can only be done during the day, 135 seconds maximum. A Starship suborbital launch can be done pretty much at any time, and they can only do 20 of them a year. 20 tests and 5 suborbital launches a year. Super Heavy launch, 3 tests, 5 launches a year. Starship landings, they can do 23 of them for tests and 10 operational Starship landings. Super Super heavy land landing. 0 test. 0 tests. I suppose, yeah, I suppose you can't test that, can you? And 5 operational landings. 5 operational phase. Let me... Huh. Yeah, let me see. A super heavy landing is part of a launch, as it would occur shortly after takeoff. Yep. A land landing means landing at the vertical launch site. Other landing operations for super heavy include landing on a floating platform in the Gulf of Mexico or expending the booster in the Gulf of Mexico. Further environmental review of land sites not described in this document may be necessary. Oh, yeah. Okay. Interesting. SpaceX would conduct most launches suborbital and orbital between the hours of 7 and 7. However, there could be launch delays due to unforeseen issues with the launch vehicle, weather conditions, or certain missions that require launching at a specific time at night to achieve a particular orbital position. Launch windows. For conservative purposes, this assessment assumes 20% of annual operations involving engine ignition would occur at night. The difference in operations during nighttime launch activity versus daytime launch activity would be SpaceX requiring bright spotlighting for short duration days while illuminating the launch vehicle on the pad. These spotlights are typically metal halide, okay? In addition to nighttime launch activity, SpaceX would need to perform ground support operations 24 hours a day, 7 days a week throughout the year. White lighting is needed to ensure the protection and safety of SpaceX personnel. SpaceX would finalize the number of pole lights during the site design process. SpaceX will coordinate with a bunch of letters on updating its facility design and lighting management plan. Do you think SpaceX would benefit from facilities and launch sites in Europe? No. So tank testing. Prior to conducting a static fire engine test or launch of a Super Heavy or Starship prototype, SpaceX must conduct tank tests to ensure the tank's reliability. This involves performing proof pressure tests to confirm the structural integrity of the launch vehicle. Proof pressure tests are broken into 2 main categories, pneumatic and cryogenic. The pneumatic proof pressure testing, burglar alarm, consists of pressurizing the launch vehicle's tank with gaseous media, helium, nitrogen, oxygen, or methane, and holding pressure for an extended duration. Cryogenic proof pressure tests consist of loading the tank with a single propellant, LN2, LOX, or LCH4. The tanks are then pressurized past their rated limit to confirm their structural capability with appropriate factors of safety. These proof pressure tests are designed not to release any propellant into the environment. All propellant is recycled back into the ground system tanks after the test is completed. I disagree. We need spaceports everywhere. That wasn't the question. Do we need spaceports everywhere wasn't the question. Do you think SpaceX would benefit from spaceports in Europe? No. I don't, Swishio. Because they're going to put spaceports out in the ocean next to Europe. Should have clarified, man. I mean, why bother? Just put it in international waters. Why would you want to do that? Okay. All tank tests could occur during the day. All right, we got that. Let's go. Pre-flight operations include mission rehearsals, suborbital launches, like the ones like SN-15, like the one that we saw. Probably an oil rig in the Bay of Biscay would be perfect. I'm thinking in the Mediterranean, Balxy. Is that where Bay of Biscay is? Refresh my memory. Can't have an environmental impact report in international waters where nobody has jurisdiction. The Bay of Biscay is west of France. Dude, I'm thinking next to Corsica or Sicily or something. You know why? Off the coast of Monaco, somewhere in the French Riviera. You know why? There's a lot of rich people there. What? I can feel your judgment, but you know I'm right. Another one in Dubai. Watch out for the German U-boats. Backstein, what year is it? International waters would make them susceptible to pirates. Yeah, if you want to raid the landing site, go ahead. Sure. The airport I work at is turning into a spaceport. Check out Yeda Alguari. Wallops? Nice shirt. Love that game. It was a good shirt, man. My buddies at Private Division hooked me up with this, Kepler. It is a good game. You know why? Because it's made by the original Fallout devs, dude. That's why it's a good game. Monaco, Dubai, Shanghai, Tokyo. Cha-ching! Lake Superior. I mean, you joke. Lake Michigan. Yeah. I don't think that's international waters, though. There's no international waters in the Great Lakes, so that's technically U.S. jurisdiction. In that case, dump all your toxic waste in international waters since there's no EPA there, right? Yeah, King, you pretty much figured out the #1 impact to climate change right there that nobody ever talks about. You think your car is damaging the environment? No. A container ship dumping its bilge in international waters is absolutely an environmental hazard. That contributes more to carbon emissions and everything and pollution than anything else in this world. Globalized shipping. Look it up. Nobody talks about it though. You know why? Too much money. Oops. Cruise ships literally dump their bilge oil into the water. Nobody does anything about it. Yeah. It's a dirty little secret that nobody ever talks about. The bunker oil that those things burn is also terrible. Yeah. Container ship emissions have never been regulated on. Ever. Nah, that hasn't changed. Yeah, container ships are the worst contributors. And which is why I always think that's funny, because, everybody complains about the damn damn container ships, and they're like, oh, your car is a gas guzzler. I'm like, okay. Bunker C, yep. Bunker C is basically oil that has the consistency of molasses. It is disgusting stuff, but it burns really, really good. Very energetic reaction. Oh, yeah. Container ships use that. Steam engines do. We don't really use those much anymore, though. A lot of stuff uses Bunker C. Franker Z oil. Yep. Don't use plastic straws. You're killing the environment. Hey, Galaxy, I don't it's we can do both of those things, but eventually everything here will be, like we make everything super sustainable. We make everything super green. The container ship's still going to pollute the water. Like, it's still going to happen. The whole UK Navy. See, Tessa, we in the U.S., we go green with our Navy ships.
Discovery, go at throttle.
Nuclear. Clean green energy, baby. See, the Russians do too. They understand. They just think of the children. Think of the children. You love to see it. Glowing green. Shut up. We got the nukes, okay? give off a lovely green glow. What are you looking at, smooth skin? Bird Dog, 35. Let's get back to the environmental assessment, guys. That was funny. Yeah, Vanguard, that's right. John, let's see. What are you? You wouldn't believe the lengths we went in the Navy to not put oil or plastics over the side. Well, that's good, man. All right. During the program's development, SpaceX is proposing to conduct up to 20 Starship suborbital launches annually. As the program progresses, SpaceX is proposing to conduct up to 5 Starship suborbital launches annually. Each launch would include a landing. During the program's development, okay, so, all right, this seems to be set up between operational missions and development missions. So SpaceX is afforded a lot more missions for development, right? And then once they get to the operational phase, I mean, this basically should tell you that what this thing is telling you right now is SpaceX's plans. For the most part, they're looking at building, well, if you could guess by some of these numbers right here, note that the amount of Starship launches are not equivalent to the amount of Starship landings. That really gets the noggin jogging, don't you think? So, it looks like SpaceX initially for operational phases out of Boca Chica is looking at about 5 Starship launches a year. Which, that's 5 Starship launches out of Boca Chica. They're afforded 5 suborbital launches, 5 Super Heavy launches, 10 Starship landings, and 5 Super Heavy landings on land. Oh my gosh, what the heck is Elon Musk planning? Holy crap. Well, that's Starship land landings. Super Heavies doesn't count under Starship land landings because Super Heavy counts under Super Heavy land landings. Where are those other Starships coming from, Brez? No, they pretty much clarify it in the fine print. It's launch operations off of the oil rigs. Oh my goodness. Global domination, what else? Bro. He's planning on making us multiplanetary. I love it. I love seeing it fold out, Warhawk. This is so goddamn cool. SpaceX is proposing to conduct up to 5 Starship Super Heavy orbital launches annually. Starship Super Heavy missions would include lunar and Mars missions. Boom, right in the text. Satellite payload missions and the possibility of future human flight to the moon and Mars. From the Boca Chica launch site, orbital launches would be primarily to follow... From the Boca Chica launch site, orbital launches would primarily be to low inclinations with flight trajectories north or south of Cuba that minimize land over flight. Future launches from the site may be to a higher 70-degree inclined orbit with limited overflight of remotely populated portions of Mexico. There could be multiple launches in close succession required to support single mission. There could be multiple launches in close succession required to support a single mission. Example, lunar resupply missions. SpaceX's launch manifest, i.e. scheduled launches, is still being developed at this time and would evolve as Starship Super Heavy programs develop. SpaceX will not exceed 5 Super Heavy Starship orbital launches annually. SpaceX estimates approximately 7 metric tons of liquid methane would be released to the atmosphere during Starship fuel loading for an orbital launch of the integrated launch vehicle. That's not too bad. Remember, it's an environmental assessment. But in this environmental assessment, we can extrapolate a bunch of things. Starship Super Heavy would launch from the vertical launch tower, from the pad. During a launch, the exhaust plume would surround the launch pad and surrounding areas. The plume would extend radially from the pad approximately 0.6 miles, so 1 kilometer, until reaching ambient temperature. SpaceX is still determining whether a diverter would be used under the launch mount. Dude, we called that yesterday. Oh, we called that. Dude, we said that yesterday. Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. Go back in the VOD and look when I was talking with Ian about Starship. I said that they don't have a flame diverter in that because they're... How do you know what type of flame diverter you're going to make? Launch one commando with no flame diverter and then build a flame diverter later. Boom, we said that. Yes. Excellent. That's really cool. A diverter is a metal structure placed on the pad underneath the rocket to divert the plume laterally away from the ground. SpaceX is also considering whether deluge water would discharge on the plume during a launch or a test. If water were used, most of the water would be vaporized. If treatment or retention of stormwater or wastewater is required, SpaceX would retain the water in retention ponds adjacent to the launch mount. SpaceX would determine the exact number, location, and size of the retention pods with the VLA based on quantities of deluge water and final site plans. SpaceX would develop the appropriate sampling protocols and water quality criteria in coordination with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. TSIQ. Sure you did. Go look at the VOD, Bright. SpaceX would remove water containing contaminants that exceed the water quality criteria and haul it to a approved industrial wastewater treatment facility nearby, which is there because they scrap ships down the road. They would pump all other water not containing prohibited chemicals back into the water tanks at the VLA. Cool. Where do we get the hat? Brimo. Drummer, give me the merch plug. Sam! Thanks, Core. Jeff Bozo right now. How can I use that against them? Hey, get Ray. Jeff just needs some time to understand how the space flight thing works. He'll get it. Ooh, Ernok, I gotta send you a message real quick. Now that I'm reminded here. Yeah, we have all kinds of merch, dudes. Jeff is still figuring out the fact that he doesn't have to... Yeah, well, I mean, whatever. Cool. All right, so that's water retention. I'm going to blaze through this. Let me speed read it. Can you even do ponds there? The soil around is just a beach, basically. You can do a retention pond, Balksy. Sure. Dig a deeper hole. It will fill up with water. But... if it's like Florida, what you can do is you can put a liner in there, an organic liner, that will naturally keep the water. It will retain the water in there, and it won't leak. I do not leak. You leak, navigator. Do like a clay liner. Yep. Organic biodegradable film solution. TARP. Okay, I didn't get that pop culture reference. I do not leak. You leak, navigator. Somebody tell John what we're talking about, please. Sai, please. Film from your youth. Flight of the Navigator, baby. One of the coolest movies ever. Compliance.
Whoa! I think I may have downloaded something from your brain that has nothing to do with the navigation of this ship.
You sound just like a human.
No! That dung bug will never learn to catch a frisbee. You are the inferior species. I told you, I was checking out some daisies.
You crashed while looking at flowers? Sounds like you're the inferior species.
Am not.
Disney is remaking it? Why? Thank you, you've never seen it. Flight of the Navigator is amazing. I do not leak. You leak, Navigator.
Hey you! Oink oink! Too many Twinkies! Ha ha!
It's my favorite. He starts making fun of the fat guy. Yeah, I know. Tessa, yeah, real-time reflective environment maps in 1986. Composited over footage. That's pretty cutting edge for the mid-80s, dude. It's pretty damn good. It's not Last Starfighter good, but it's pretty friggin' good. Bryce Dallas Howard is directing the remake. I haven't seen that movie since before EJ was born. It's 1986, Jim. 8 years since that night. Well, what kind of music do you like? The Bee Gees. I like Twisted Sister. Who's she? Cars was the first animated movie to use ray tracing. Ray tracing was just becoming a thing when I was in school for computer graphics, Swishio. Ray tracing took forever. It took forever to render one frame. That was like, what? 14 years ago? Now you can do it in real time. It's pretty crazy. If you told me a decade and a half later from school that you could ray trace stuff in real time, I wouldn't have believed you. Wasn't it the Beach Boys? No, he says the Bee Gees. That song sucks. I hate that song, dude. I'm not even kidding. Not space news, but have I seen North Korea's train-launched ballistic missile? Wait, what? 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 What?
새로운 국방 전략 수립의 일환으로 필요한 군사작전 상황 시 위협 세력에 대한 동시다발적인 집중 타격 능력을 높이며 각종 위협들에 보다 적극적으로 대처할 수 있는 대응 능력을 강력히 향상시키기 위하여 철도 기동 미사일 연대를 조직했습니다. 검열 사격 훈련은 처음으로 실전 도입된 철도 기동 미사일 체계의 실용성을 확증하고 새로 조직된 연대의 전투 준비 태세와 화력 임무 수행 능력을
Is that an M62? That's an M62.
행동 절차를
Cool.
숙달할 목적 밑에 진행됐습니다. 철도 기동 미사일 연대는
Oh, that's so, look at him. It's got a little strong back. That's awesome. Wow! What the frick? Oh my goodness. Oh my god. You know, if that thing wasn't designed to go up and hurt people, it'd be really freaking cool. But dude. Why put it on a train? What are you, dumb? Alright. Okay. Oh man. Oh man. God damn it, that's funny. Honestly reformed. Yes. Why not? Trains follow this thing that they're on. They follow this thing. What's it called? Railroad tracks. And you know, if something went wrong here, and don't get me wrong, armchair general, if something went wrong and a conflict went hot like that, you would know the range of that missile. Literally blow up all the railroad tracks that are in range of that missile. They used train artillery in both world wars. Yeah, how'd those turn out? I'll check it out in a little bit. Link, please. What the hell are you going to do with that? Rumor has it, he used to go around on one of those Soviet missile trains. That armor stuff they used to run around the country so we couldn't target them. Does SpaceX's strongback use wheels and need concrete? It depends on the strongback. Why? 2 of them use railroad tracks. I see what you did there. And one of them uses 747 wheels. Seriously, they bolted a bunch of Boeing 747 wheels to the Vandenberg strongback, and that's how they tow it around. Right, Joe? Yep. Silly, you just drive the train off the track. It's a first strike weapon. Oh. You said only strike weapon wrong. Because you're only going to get one shot before you get blown away. Why wouldn't you just use a Scud? Whatever. Check DMs when available.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
A train missile won't reload. Scud is so last century. And train missiles are this one? Guys, let's get back to the draft environmental assessment. yeah, Tesla. Well, you tell him he doesn't work. You tell him it doesn't work. Possible of landing starships on islands in the Pacific Ocean. Interesting. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so there's the hard checkpoints. Okay. I want to find more pictures. Okay, let's take a look here. They've surveyed 1,000-foot dune buffer boundary here. Survey verified vertical launch area boundary. Vertical launch area boundary that was assessed in 2014.
Go at throttle up.
Huh. Hey, Secret Me, what's going on? No drone wingmen with multiple Fox 3s. No, drone wingmen with multiple Fox 3s are the new hotness. There's your first strike weapon, Doom. Anything about the beach road staying open? No. I'm sorry, dude, I think that the boxcar launch pad is actually pretty cool. Just on a side note, but that's actually pretty neat. I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure what you're gonna do with that, but alright. And I like that locomotive. I'll take the locomotive. Kem, did you see the M62 in there? That's a good locomotive. That thing can pull freight clean across Russia, man. Great design. Seriously, it's a great design. Could Astra do that since their rocket and pad fit in a container? Yeah, sure. Why do you think the DoD paid them to make something like that? ABL can do that too. Can someone explain to me the Coggers thing? Since when did Poggers become uncool? Because we took Poggers and replaced the C, or the P with a C. Coggers. So cog. Swishio, it's me trying to be hip. From what I understand, Zoomer humor makes even less sense than millennial humor. So you just basically come up with random things, and as long as your timing is correct, it's really freaking funny. Like that. Yep. You green? Super green. Yeah. We gotta appeal to the kids. We gotta appeal to the young masses. No, I don't care. I just thought it was a funny thing to say, to be honest with you. I don't know what a cogger is, but coggers is supposed to be a reaction emote to something that's spinning. I'll try spinning. That's a good trick. So we're circling back to the Three Stooges being funny. Literally, Zoomer humor is slapstick. It's slapstick comedy. Yep. So a reaction wheel. Yep. 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 All right. Anyway, there are a lot of weird emotes like that on mainstream Twitch. Yeah, I know. Coggers is our new hotness, man. That's the new hotness, bro. All right. So it looks like I wonder why the Falcon 9 launch site boundary is different than Starship, but so it's funny because in the old Google Earth images, guys, you could see where SpaceX was starting to build the horizontal integration facility. This pad right here was supposed to be where the HIF was supposed to be, and then the launch site was supposed to be right here. It was supposed to be essentially a copy of 39A for the most part, without the big raised pad, but it would have been pretty much the same. But SpaceX, Elon has other plans for that apparently. All right, let's keep going. Hey, now we're talking. What do you got here? Hey, Tal. 2 launch sites. 2 launch pads, dudes. Back to back. Yeah, the soil was just to compact the soil down, Zythera, so you could build a building on it. So in areas that have what's called a high water table, so areas that are close to sea level, what you basically have to do is dig a hole next to the building that you're building and take all that dirt and basically build the building up on a mound, right? For 2 reasons. One, so all the water goes over here, so no water goes here. You want all the water to go into the retention pond. You do not want it to seep into the terrain underneath the building, or else the building's going to sink. So you dig retention ponds around there. And if you dig retention ponds, the terrain naturally stays nice and dry, and your building doesn't sink into the ground. Also, it doesn't flood. You have to do that with this too. It has to be done that way with low water tables. Are we going to play Kerbal? We are going to play Kerbal. I don't know if you knew this, Ricky. Kerbal is my favorite game. The original plan. Yeah, Thomas has the original plan there. That's Cogger's nearing right there. You started an RSSRO save. Have fun. So this pretty much, Thomas, this is pretty much the same as before. I'm still wondering what this area is about. I think this area might be that, just don't put anything here because this is here, right? Cogger's nearing. You love KSP too? Coggers. That's the proposed layout from July 2021. So where you guys see the green is what's already been made. This other stuff is future expansions here. And it looks like they're building a gigantic berm right here. That is the land that they own. Okay. Production and manufacturing not part of the FAA's proposed action. Okay. Redundant launch pad and commodities. SpaceX is proposing to construct a redundant launch pad denoted as Orbital Launch Mount Pad B, adjacent to the existing pad as Orbital Launch Mount Pad A. Mount Pad A. Pad B would be approximately 65 feet high with a similar footprint and layout as Pad A, the orbital launch mount. SpaceX would expand the existing commodity farm. Commodities is the tank farm, the propellant farm. SpaceX is proposing to install approximately 11 commodity tanks, each up to 98 feet tall, near Pad A and proposed Pad B. The tanks would hold liquid oxygen, liquid nitrogen, water, helium, gaseous nitrogen, gaseous methane, and LCH4, liquid methane. Gonna get banned for smacking yourself. Yeah, whatever. There will be 3 transporter pull-ups from the main road to allow vehicles to pass when moving launch vehicles. Yeah, I got you. Integration towers, tank structural stay. How you doing? Oh, that's cool. No quick disconnect is modeled in this. Alright, this is all the stuff that they were going to add here. They're proposing to expand the solar farm, which is cool. I'm looking for pictures, guys. I'm not going to lie. Okay. That was all the places on the south border of Texas where they're going to survey the air. Why don't we have a moon base yet? Why don't we have a moon base yet, Axel? Do you really want to know, or is it a troll question? Man, I get a lot of troll questions in here, dude. I'm not going to lie to you. Because it's a lie. Yeah. See what I'm talking about, Axel? I want to know. They're shooting for Mars, but we haven't colonized the moon yet. Well, Axel, you should read about the Artemis program, NASA's new program to go back to the moon by 2024 or 2025, somewhere around there. In terms of why we haven't, you're not going to like the reason. So, imagine for a second, Axel, that you work. Imagine you work out on a farm, okay? You work out on a farm, and the farm makes a lot of money, right? So you buy a tractor, right? You buy a tractor so you can farm more, right? You buy the tractor. The tractor works. It works great. It's an expensive tractor, but you buy it, okay? That tractor works fantastic. But it is expensive. It is expensive to operate, but it works, and it does what you need it to do. Now, you're working on the farm, you tend the fields, tram lines and stuff, Clarkson's farm, you should watch that. And then the manager of the farm comes up and says, that tractor is too expensive. That tractor is too damn expensive. We could do it for cheaper. We could do it for cheaper. We could make a tractor cheaper than this. So, you take that tractor, you put it off to the side, you sell the thing. All right, you get rid of it. And now your boss is like, I can build a tractor cheaper than this. So you go and you build your own damn tractor, okay? You build one. It works. It's okay. It's pretty good. It's not as capable as the big tractor that you bought the first time around, but it still works. But it takes a little while for you to build the damn thing, because you build it yourself. It's not like the first time where you made all that money, right? And you could go buy the damn thing and it works great. No, you can't spend money. We gotta make sure that, we build it ourselves, because we'll end up saving money, right? Well, it takes you 10 freaking years to go and build it, and then it works, but it doesn't work as good as the big one, right? And then your boss is like, nah, just keep using that. That's fine. The big tractor? No, we sold that. Don't go back. We can't use that again. It's too expensive. The tractor, the second tractor, the one that's junk, is the space shuttle. The first tractor is the Saturn V. That should tell you everything you need to know. Long story short, we built the Saturn V, and it was a great vehicle. It was designed to do everything that we needed to do, but we thought that we could do it for cheaper with the space shuttle. And the space shuttle never had baseline capability of being able to get to the stupid moon. But because it was still cheaper than the Saturn V, we kept using the damn thing. And don't get me wrong, I like the space shuttle. It's really cool. Basically, freaking money. It comes down to money, which is dumb. That's a dumb thing to say. I really think that's stupid. That's a stupid reason. I get it, money drives the world. I understand that, but NASA is supposed to buck that trend. That's literally their job. You know? Long story short, we keep telling ourselves, Axel, that we can find better, cheaper, alternative ways to do it. But saying that we can find better, cheaper, alternative ways to get to the moon is like saying I can find better, cheaper, alternative ways to teleport. What? Right? You can't beat physics, man. You can't freaking beat physics. The Apollo program proved that. Because that was the best way to do it at the time. And guess what? Physics doesn't change, man. Physics don't change. The primary mode of transportation 500 years ago was a damn sailboat and a horse and buggy. Does a sailboat and a horse and buggy still do the same thing? Yeah, physics don't change. You know what I mean? That's why. That's why we haven't gone back to the moon. Because, you know, we get sticker shock from the damn price of spaceflight for some stupid reason. We've never gotten sticker shock from anything else. Nobody ever said building the Transcontinental Railroad to the United States in the 1860s was too expensive. Nobody ever said that. I'm sure somebody did somewhere. But yeah, it was really expensive, but using it and the logistical passage of being able to move rail across the entire United States paid for the price tag of that 60 times over. See what I'm saying? We keep kidding ourselves to thinking we can find a better, cheaper, alternative way to do it, and it never works. Sometimes you just gotta put together a freaking expensive rocket and fly it. Yeah, the Panama Canal is too expensive. Well, that's what the French said, Sumo. That's the reason, man. It's stupid. And then the other thing is people kept saying like, oh, why do, you know, we spend all this money on space. Why don't we solve our problems down here? Well, that was 50 years ago. Have the problems been solved? No. Why? Because there's always going to be problems down here. So let us freaking go to space and work on that problem. That's right, Durango. Does the recent infrastructure bill include space as the infrastructure? Not that I've seen thus far, Fazilla, but I've only gotten about 1,000 pages into it. Yes, I've been reading it. I haven't done it lately, though. There's a lot of stuff in there, man. It's a long bill. But anyway, let's get back to the environmental assessment. That's why, Axel. Because we keep thinking we can do it for cheaper ways when we just really need to bite the bullet and spend a lot of money to make the cheaper way, right? Is a car expensive if you make one? Yeah, it's really expensive. Is a car expensive if you make 1,000? No. Is a car expensive if you make 1,000,000 of them? No. The price comes down over time. We got to do the same thing with rockets, man. That's why Elon Musk is doing what he's trying to do down in Texas. He's trying to mass produce rockets. That's his big thing. It's not necessarily about making a reusable rocket. I mean, that is a big part of it, but it's about mass production. Does that sufficiently answer your question? Basically, typical human bull crap. Somebody complained, somebody did this, somebody did that, and now we're stuck here. Hopefully that changes in the future. You cannot break the laws of physics. Yeah, that sucks. Cheaper, better alternatives sounds terrible when talking about going to the moon. There is none, Axel. You can't beat physics, dude. Physics is there. Hey, just got here. Did you see the FAA said that Super Heavy will have 37 engines? Well, thanks for spoiling it, Velo. Haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, it answers my question. Wish the answer was something else, though. Dude, Axel, it's something that I constantly talk about here on the stream. Spaceflight is about being optimistic. You don't launch people into space, you know, not hoping they're going to get killed, right? Oh, man, I hope they don't die. That's not how spaceflight works. That's not how they deal with risk. To paraphrase Chris Hadfield, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. If you want to go get groceries in 5 minutes, you take the car or the train. There's no way you can do that for cheaper. You could take a bicycle, but then how are you going to carry all the damn groceries back? And people from Europe's like, oh, I do that all the time. Yeah, I know. You get what I'm trying to say? You want to do it quick, you use the car, right? There's no way to beat physics here. And the reason why I use quick as an emphasis here, Axel, is because spaceflight is all about speed. How fast you can go. The faster you can go, the further you can go. It has nothing to do with distance. Distance doesn't matter in space. I mean, transit time and trips, blah, blah, but if you can go faster, the transit time goes down. But if you can achieve a certain speed, you can get anywhere in the solar system. If you can accelerate a spacecraft to 30,000 miles an hour, you can go anywhere in the solar system. Anywhere. Speed is the name of the game, dude. It's physics. You can't beat that problem. You're going to need something as big as the Saturn V or something to go that far if you want to go that far. There's no getting around that. There's no teleporter. The tangent continues. Okay. Man, you guys suck. No teleporter yet. Thanks for the info. No problem, dude. Yeah, I got you. Let's get back to this. Yeah, go ahead, Tiggs. Okay, that's sound levels for static fires, and this is sound levels for development tests. Sound levels for operational tests. Man, that thing's going to be loud. Jeez. Dude. Am I looking at this right? That's the Brownsville Canal right there. Oh my goodness. 75 decibels at the build site. What's Port Isabel? A port that's north of SpaceX's launch site. That's, yeah, not too bad considering, yeah. That's sound propagation for ascent and stuff. When you get a moment, I just wanted to hear what you think. In partnership with the Air Force Research Strategic Development, the MC-130J Commando 2 amphibious capability to improve platform stability for sea operations. Oh, wow. A C-130 seaplane. Cool. Yeah, they're going to need a blast detonation area. What's Mexico say? That noise goes over the border. Nothing. I don't think. I'm sure. Maybe they'll do their own assessment. Who knows? Environmental consequences. National Register of Historic Places listed and eligible cultural resources potentially affected by proposed action. Is this real? Oh boy. Sheridan's Railroad Bridge. Adverse effect will be vibrations and debris visitation. Port Isabel Cemetery. Oh boy. Yeah, the sound could shake some stuff up. See last. Yeah, no, I sent this to a friend of mine who did planning work on airports, and he said this is outrageous sound levels. I know. That's why I said it's loud. Can you launch Super Heavy to space with a Super Heavy? It depends, Tim. Do you want to launch it full of fuel or not full of fuel? Because full of fuel, no. It would need to use some of its own fuel to get into space. Public parks, recreation areas, okay. I like trains. That's a different Sheridan Bridge. Where? I'm just trying to see what this is. The line of palmetto pilings just to the north of Highway 4 at Boca Chica Beach are the remains of a Union railroad built at the close of the Civil War. Whoa. Excuse me. Yeah, they're pilings from an old railroad bridge. Why would they build the train like, I'm wondering what the purpose was. Boca Chica was where the last Civil War conflict was. No way, I didn't know that. Is it next to the road? It is next to the road. There were trains here? Where did that line go? Now I want to see. There, okay. Yep, there it is. You can see some of it. Where would the train track go from there, though? Okay, there's a piece. Oh, yeah. Yep, you can see where it was. It was the damn Yankees. How can we know what they were thinking? Oh, Highway 4 is built next to an old rail line. Cool! I didn't know that. Yes, those are definitely within the sound loud area. Don't go there. Where's the track go from here? It looks like it just follows Highway 4. Yep, see the tree line right there? Definitely. And it went right on the, basically right on the coast. There it is, see, there's more of it. I'm trying to see where it bunched up with pre-existing rail lines, but I can't find it. There's no rail lines anywhere near there. Cool. This is the remains of a bridge that was used during the Civil War. That's, dude, see? That's cool, man. That's what I was wondering. I'm like, well, there's railroad tracks? There ain't no railroad tracks near there. The line of palmetto pilings just to the north are the remains of a Union Railroad bridge built at the close of the Civil War. These posts were the foundations of a bridge that crossed the narrow Boca Chica Inlet to connect Brazos Island to the mainland at White's Ranch. When Union troops entered the Rio Grande Delta in November 1863, they landed on Brazos Island and crossed the Boca Chica waterway using temporary floating pontoon bridges. After occupying Brownsville, Union General Francis Herron gave orders to build a railway and bridge that would transport troops and supplies to river steamboats which could carry them to points upriver. Union troops fell back to Brazos Island in the spring of 1864, scrapping the plans for the line. When the Confederacy collapsed in May of 1865, Appomattox and Union forces re-entered Brownsville, the line again became a priority. General Philip Sheridan, commander of the Union Military Division of the Southwest, feared that the Confederates who had fled to Mexico might stage attacks from across the border, perhaps in alliance with Mexican imperialist forces. Consequently, he ordered the completion of the railroad and bridge, which was constructed by U.S. colored troops. Figures. The line was a short-lived one, however. The hurricane of 1867, which wiped out the towns of Baghdad, Clarksville, and Brazos Santiago Depot, also destroyed Sheridan's bridge, and it was never rebuilt. Huh. Cool. Cool bit of history. Huh. Huh. See, that's cool, man. And that thing in the environmental impact is susceptible to vibrations because the rocket is so damn loud. History with EJ, a Leidos program. Did you know that Dynetics is a Leidos company? I don't know if you knew that. Interesting. So Baghdad got destroyed in the Civil War. Got it. I would make a joke, Thailand, that wouldn't have been the first time, but also that's an incredibly poor taste. So, yeah, let's not. Cool. Next thing. Let's see. The Long Island Sway Bridge, one of two remaining pivot swing bridges in Texas. Alta Vista Apartments, Long Island Swing Bridge. Now, let's see what happens when we Google this. It's a swing bridge? All right. I'm looking around at all the potential things that Starship could destroy when it goes to launch. The swing bridge is susceptible to vibrations. It's susceptible. Is that what that said? Yeah. Up here. It said it's susceptible to vibrations. How far is that from the launch site? The launch site's right here. Yo, dudes, this thing's gonna be loud. That's going to be really loud. Whoa. That's almost 10 kilometers away. Dragon just finished a burn. Cool. Queen Isabel Inn, Port Isabel Lighthouse, Port Isabel Cemetery, Lama de los Ebenitos, Garcia Pasture. Cool. Environmental consequences. Impacts on Section 4 properties would be significant if the proposed action involves more than a minimal physical use of Section 4F. Interesting. So about that flame trench, yeah, right? Did you know the causeway collapsed in 2001? It happens. I didn't know that, but yeah, it happens. I think they're going to do that, Hired, yeah. To an extent. I'm not sure, like, they're not going to build a big bowl. It would just get washed away the next time it floods. Water resources, study area, surface conditions. Water resources at the vertical launch area, delineated wetlands. Yeah, they're filling in a lot of wetlands here. Okay. We knew that already, though. Wetland impacts at the vertical launch area. Yep. Yep. High marsh areas, depressional areas, salt flats. Hey, Ismic, what's going on? 8 people died, but it was overshadowed by... yeah. Did we find out what range was 95 decibels? Within a mile, I think, if I remember right. There was sound propagation up there at the top a second ago. I'm looking for pictures, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Piping plover, a critical habitat within the study area. Piping plover. All right, let's do a little wildlife learning. Oh, hey, birdie. Oh, look at the little buddies. Burb. Burp. Don't ever talk to me or my son ever again. I remember seeing some tweets where SpaceXers visited South Padre Island and were looking at the building windows. They were also asking owners if the windows are built for hurricanes. Yep. So you're telling me that someone has figured out Mars return class rockets can't figure out how to tame a wetland? Cringe. No, not at all. Guys, okay. Let me explain to you why a programmatic environmental assessment is a good idea. All right? You ever watch that Monty Python sketch? Or not Monty Python sketch, the Monty Python scene from Holy Grail. One day, son, this will all be yours. What, the curtains? No, not the curtains. One day, this will all be yours. Oh, you know, they said you couldn't build a castle on a swamp, but I built it anyway. It fell into the swamp. So I built a second one, lad. That fell into the swamp. I built a third one. That burned down, fell over, then fell into the swamp. But the fourth one, lad, haha, that stayed up. That's why you do a programmatic environmental assessment. It's not just for the tree huggers, guys. It's not for that. It's so, you know, you don't build a pad on a piece of land that will get wiped out if a hurricane comes. Environmental impacts are the way you make things last. That's the way you make buildings not get taken out by a hurricane, or not have water seep into the concrete foundation and then have the building collapse.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Axiom, she got, what? You don't like her? What's wrong with her? She's rich. She's got huge tracts of land. Yeah, it's not just there for an endangered species this, endangered species that. You have environmental impact studies to make sure what you're building is not going to fall over or break or get wrecked by a hurricane. It is invasive to certain species, but here's the thing. You go and build a big launch pad like that, if you displace a species, you're screwing up the ecosystem. And if you screw up the ecosystem, well, say that affects an animal that keeps the terrain dry or whatever, right? And then all of a sudden, your pad that you didn't think was going to flood is going to flood because you displaced all the birds. That's a very general example. But this is why we do this. It's not just some stupid thing to jump through hoops or we can't tame wetlands or anything like that. No, you put that stuff down, not just to make sure you're not screwing up your local environment, but making sure that that thing, whatever you build there, is not going to fall over or collapse or get wrecked by displacing an invasive or not an invasive species, but just screwing up the local ecosystem or sink into the swamp. You definitely don't want the launch pad to burn down, fall over, then fall into the swamp. They said you couldn't build a pad on a swamp, but I built it anyway. It fell into the swamp. So there's a good reason for all of this. Trust me, dude, this bird could eat up all the bugs around here. It could be the piping plover. I don't know anything about it. This is just an example. The piping plover could be, say that thing like feasts on mosquitoes, and you displace the piping plover from building a launch pad, and now your launch site's infested with mosquitoes. And now those mosquitoes bite people, and someone gets sick. See, that's what I mean. You can, like, this is a good idea to do this stuff. It's not about whether we can or can't conquer the certain pieces of terrain, right? If you want something to truly last, you need to understand the environment that it's built in and have it achieve a symbiosis with that environment. That's super freaking important. The fourth one, lad. Oh, that's stayed up. Yeah, don't screw with Mother Nature. It was one thing listen to me, man. It was one thing I learned not to mess with. Mother Nature, mother-in-laws, and mother freaking Ukrainians, man. Yevon, you didn't have to clip them. Yo, well, wait a minute. We didn't clip anybody. Sorry. But yeah, this is important stuff to look through, but it can also tell us what's going on with SpaceX. Pretty much, Barak, yeah. What did your crane do? Well, that's what happens when you make the support system for the crane out of explosive rockets. I mean, I don't know what you want. Message for you, sir. All right, let's see. Coastal resources, study area, existing conditions, environmental consequences. Let's look for the meat and potatoes. I'm looking for the good stuff. Hazardous material, yeah. Could go with some meat and potatoes right now. Yeah, see, pollution prevention isn't just screwing up like, oh, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do this. You don't want to pollute the area around because, you know, everybody talks about like macro ecosystems now, so like carbon emissions and climate change, but your local ecosystem is, yeah, you don't want to screw that up. You could really mess things up that way. Like, once again, that bird, say you displace that bird, and like I said, the mosquitoes and everything. That's a pretty good example. I mean, that's not exactly how it works, but it's the general idea. What about the desert? The desert is its own ecosystem, and there are certain animals and species in the desert that depend on the desert to survive. A scorpion is a good example, or a snake, or a coyote, if you live out there. Municipal water supply, aquifer drawdown. Socioeconomics, children's environmental health and safety risks. The rocket's loud. You go deaf. Exactly, Forlorn. Literally a butterfly effect. That's important to find symbiosis with your environment. And that's, you know, I don't mind that. That's a good idea. You don't want to build it in a place that you don't do an environmental impact on, and then it gets taken out by a hurricane. Like how the French decided to build a city in a bowl surrounded by water. You know what we call that city? New Orleans. Oops. Paid the price on that one a little bit later. See what I mean? That's why you do environmental assessments. It's very important. You damn French build a city in the bowl. How dare you? It's a joke. People died. It's not funny, but you get the idea. SpaceX anticipates personnel supporting the proposed action will require 450 full-time workers. Increases in personnel are not anticipated to affect any of the existing employment positions since there are non-existing commercial activities in the vicinity of the Boca Chica launch site. Assuming that all 450 permanent SpaceX personnel move to the area and using an average household size of about 3.4 persons, who has 40% of a person? I know it's an average. I get it. It's a joke, right? Persons for county with 1,500 people would move to the area. This would represent approximately 0.4% of the year 2018 population count for the study area. The salaries paid onto the SpaceX personnel would represent direct annual income, with some earnings paid to taxes, some saved, and some invested. And most would be spent on housing, consumer goods, and services in the study area. Space programs, man. Space programs make jobs. They make jobs for everybody. And they make jobs for people that make a lot of money. More money is more money. More money, people with higher paying jobs in your town is more tax dollars being paid. So you can bring people out of poverty that way. You can build better roads and give people better means to do things. Like, I don't know, start their own business for whatever reason. People, I'm sure someone's down there they want to open up a restaurant. Well, there's plenty of mouths to feed. A bunch of hungry engineers down there. The U.S. Coast Guard captain of the port of Jacksonville in Ferdinand, Florida, and Kings Bay in Georgia just posted this. Let me see. The United States Coast Guard will establish a hazard warning area for the return of Inspiration 4. Cool. Yep. This is playing City Skylines now. That's City Skylines 101. You put more equity into your city, more people want to move there, and your city grows. Growth, better. With more growth, you can do what? You can do more things. Build more roads. Build trains, public transport, buses. You can do stuff like that. We could do a vegan place for Texas folk. What? What? That's... vegan text, I'm confused. I don't understand the joke. I don't understand that. Saying get a taco truck and head over to Boca Chica. Must be an Austin thing. Yeah. Nice hat. Oh, thank you. I was gonna say, aren't Texans like some of the most carnivorous people in the entire union? I was gonna say, what joke? But what about Austin? We're not near Austin. My hat is scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Thank you for buying merch, guys. I appreciate it. All right, let's see what else we got. I think, did we make it through all the pages there? I think we did. Here, noise assessment, Appendix G. The view shed supporting images. Here we go. Let's see what we got there. Pavement ends. Hey. Oh, baby. Oh, mama. Look at this. Look at when this picture was taken. Look at the state of the integration tower. Tower wasn't even finished yet. This must have been, yeah, see, June 6th. Huh. Yes. The vertical launch area and proposed action is going to happen in this area. Not over here or over here, but right. Nighttime view of the launch pad from the dunes at Boca Chica. Launch pad under construction at time of photo. Yeah. Nighttime view of the launch pad from the 1864-65 pilings north of the launch pad. Launch pad under construction at time of photo. Cool. Let's look around. Any more? Dude, there's a lot of stuff to read here. Oh my goodness. Do I have some homework or what? Holy balls, I have to read through all of this. Oh no. Okay, here's our missions here. Yeah, that's what they're messing with Axiom because it's a work site. You basically have to light the area correctly so people don't work in the dark because it's a 24-hour work site. So you have to light the area, and they're assessing what that lighting area is going to do to the environment at night. That's what those shots in the dark are about. It's funny to see, but why don't we build rockets in space? You know, cut out the middleman. Oh, you got to get raw materials up there, Neo. How are you going to do that? There's nothing up there. That's what Starship's trying to do, dude. Starship is trying to be the avenue in which we send stuff into space to build stuff up there. Make sense, man? There's a lot of stuff to go through. Rocket noise. Yeah. Build the moon base, mining and manufacturing, obviously. Ooh. So wait, what is this for? Starship noise assessment for operations at Boca Chica. Starship orbital launch from Boca Chica. Is that decibel level? Holy shnikes. An orbital launch? 130 decibels? It's gonna be 100 decibels in Port Isabel. No wonder they're worried about frickin' vibrations. Holy crap! Dude! That's nuts! See, you see the volume that I'm talking at right now? The volume that I'm talking at right now is minus 3.5 dB. That's 140. Certified ear rape. Unbelievable. That thing is going to be so loud. Yeah, no wonder they're worried about it. Oh my goodness. Decibels are logarithmic too. That's unreal. I mean, I'd still watch it from here. It would be so loud. You'd need ear protection. Even watching it from the build site, you would need ear protection. I mean, I would. I wouldn't. That would be dangerous. Do any comparisons come to mind? This is way louder than the Saturn V 95. There's 100 decibels in South Padre. That's unbelievable. That's crazy, man. In real life, your voice is about 45 decibels. Oh my goodness. 90 is out here. Wow, that's gonna be loud. At South Padre, it would be like standing next to an automatic machine gun. That's cool. All machine guns are automatic, Reagan, by definition. That's what machine gun means. The more you know. Yeah, Switchio, this right here is why SpaceX needs those damn oil rigs, dude. Oh my goodness. Yeah, 10. That's unbelievable, dude. What's louder, a rocket or a nuke? A nuke, but a rocket's louder for longer periods of time. Wow. Yeah, this thing is gonna be... What is this one for? Starship orbital launch from Boca Chica sound exposure levels. This is zoomed out more. What the frick? Dude. That's nuts. Starship maximum unweighted sound levels. Holy crap. How long until they complain? There's nothing here. There's no cities right there because it's the Rio Grande estuary. See it all right here? There's not much, so I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but wow. How far is Brownsville from there? Oh, you'll hear it. I'll link up what I'm looking at right here. It's in chat. Dude, oh my goodness. This thing will rock buildings, dude. That's amazing. So that's... Dude, wait. Is that just Starship noise assessment? Starship suborbital launch, maximum A-weighted sound level. So that's DBA. Wow. That's just Starship. And we've already seen that. Oh my goodness. Will they be responsible for any damage that they cause? Another reason why you should do an environmental impact, Axel. It's a really good idea. So they'll need a bonus sound deluge system? They're gonna need something, man. That's nuts. I can't, dude, that's so loud. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna enjoy every second of this. Re-entry. Oh. Re-entry, huh? Starship landing at Boca Chica. Oh, Starship landing at Boca Chica sound exposure levels. Look at how the sound is propagating. Yo, that means that the way this is shaped, guys, Starship's going to come in this way. Oh, I'm going to 95. The first time that goes, I'm going. Yeah. I know, Snake, right? Holy crap. Sound is directional, more shots. The sonic boom is directional. If you were out here and the rocket launched and you were sitting out there, you'd hear it break the sound barrier. But because we're all behind the rocket whenever it launches, we don't hear it because it's directional. But when it's coming back from re-entry, we're in front of it. It's coming to us. Holy crap, that's going to be insane. The way this sound propagate, the shape, right? The way it's looking, it looks like it's going to come in this way. So Starship is going to fly like right over Brownsville when it comes back into land. Holy crap, that's cool. There's no way you can expose 200,000 people to that regularly. Yeah, Fish. That's why they're only permitted to do it 5 times out of the year. The environmental assessment said basically 5 Starship missions a year out of Boca Chica, but specified that SpaceX will use other means to move stuff around. That's why SpaceX has the oil rigs, exactly. Are you sure that's not just because of the land and any green like trees will absorb the sound? Yes, I'm sure. Because look at the ascent. I mean, maybe it might have something to do with that. Maybe, I guess. But
Discovery, go at throttle up.
yeah, I guess, man. I mean, that might have something to do with it, but I don't think so. I mean, if that's the case, explain this right here. What's that about? See what I'm talking about? It seems like it might have something to do with it, but what about this? What about that right there? I mean, the biggest change is from land to sea. I definitely see that, but I think even if the launch site was over here, the sound would still look pretty much the same. It's noise propagation, Jarvis, from launch. Yep. Coffee! Hey, man, 77-month resub. What is this one for? Starship landing at a downrange site. Yeah. Well, trees do absorb noise pollution, so yeah, you guys might be right. Michael J. Fox drew that line. Oh, that's horrible. Thanks. I deal with the IS type stuff for work. I can't believe this won't be tied up in lawsuits for a long time. Yeah, Fish, I'm kinda... I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I would live there. I would live there, and I would enjoy every second of it, but not everybody is me, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of people around this part right here. Basically where that circle is, there's not a lot of people living there except for SpaceX personnel, right? Brownsville is the big one. In Harlingen, that's what I'm like, okay. I'm not proud of that one, I admit. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. That's nuts, dude. So, once again, if you're wondering why I'm looking at this and what I'm looking through, this is Starship's programmatic environmental assessment. What does that mean? The programmatic environmental assessment is the Federal Aviation Administration's assessment for how SpaceX development and operational missions are going to affect the environment around Boca Chica. Why am I so interested in this? Well, one, I already said, environmental assessments are super important because it's super important to achieve a symbiosis with your environment. All right. I made the example already earlier, right? The example basically is you don't want to build it on wetlands and have a hurricane come and hit it and it falls into the swamp. Stuff like that. But also, there are 1,000 other things. This environmental assessment covers like how many jobs it's going to create, you know, socioeconomic conditions, you know, if it will displace certain species of birds or whatever. Why did they choose that site, private launch site, Clutch? It's one of the few places around left in the U.S. that doesn't have a lot of people around, and they don't have to share it with another launch provider. After seeing this, SpaceX documents, and this is an interesting site. Yeah. You sound like a southerner saying hurricane. I lived in Florida, public, remember? I have a little bit of Florida man in me. That won't get taken out of context at all, will it? Okay, so... Oof! I don't give two craps. Belt fed? I don't care. Alright, anyway. So the other reason why this is important is because the draft environmental assessment is open for public comment for 30 days before they finalize it. So this is the finalized, it's a final draft, and then there's 30 days for public comment. And after those 30 days for public comment, the FAA turns in their final draft and we're good to go. The reason why that's so important is because this was basically one of the last hurdles, other than finishing the damn launch pad. Basically one of the last hurdles that SpaceX needs to actually launch starships into space with approval through Uncle Sam, basically. That was one of the last things they needed. Now, basically, if this October 18th is when the environmental assessment is closed for public comment, and if everybody's good with it, they'll basically authorize SpaceX to be able to do, but basically go open up the floodgates on Starship development. That's a big deal. That actually should give you a pretty good indication about when Starship is going to do its orbital flight. The draft environmental assessment closes on the 18th, so I would say at this particular point in time that Starship Super Heavy's first orbital flight test is net October 18th. No earlier than. Yeah, that's right, John. Mm-hmm. But I was born there. Yep. I'm sure the floodgates are ready to open on the SpaceX side. Well, Sir Sav, that would explain why Elon Musk is basically all steam ahead, all forward steam ahead on finishing the pad. SpaceX already knows how to make the starships. They've made a ton of them. Some of them blew up. I think that's why they're going full steam ahead on the pad, because once the pad's operational, what they'll do after the pad's ready to go is obviously start cranking out Pad B, but also do that while Pad A is being used for actual tests, and then go back to spaceship manufacturing. How well is the GSE side getting on? Nice, Forge. We could go check with our buddies over at NASA Spaceflight. Here, let's check a couple of things real quick. Let's check a couple of things here. I want to go here, and then I want to back it up a little bit. Elon Musk says, please add your voice to the public comment. Support is greatly appreciated. Humanity's future on the moon, Mars, and beyond depends on it. Thanks, Elon. South Padres down there. I wonder if Austin commented on this. That's strange. You mentioned 5 launches a year, but is that limitation only for fully stacked starships? Yeah, operational missions, Sir Sav. They have a much, much more lenient budget, so to speak, for testing flights. Here's this is a tweet. I mean, this is cropped from the environmental impact report, but Mike took a picture of it here. SpaceX is planning, so like over here is the allowable amount of test flights, and over there is the allowable amount of operational flights. Couple of interesting things to note that I looked at here. Well, first of all, they're allowed to do a lot more testing than they are orbital launches, which is weird. The second thing is, check this out. Operational phase. So, Starship landing. So, landing a Starship back at the pad. Ten Starship landings. Super Heavy launch, day or night, 5. Super Heavy landing, 5. They are not allowed to test landing that Super Heavy. The Super Heavy landings, SpaceX didn't classify under phase testing, that's also an interesting thing to note. Starship suborbital launch. 5 plus 5 is 10. Oh, geez, I didn't realize that a Starship suborbital launch and a Super Heavy launch are the same thing. Thanks, guys. Why wouldn't they test it? I don't know. So they're allowed to do 5 suborbital operational launches and 5 super heavy launches. The B was to specify that super heavy launches, I think, have a Starship on top of them. So they authorized 5 launches but 10 landings. I agree, Semi. Yeah, it's because they have to catch it with the pad, so it counts as an operational mission. It's interesting that it was proposed that way. You guys keep saying, well, 5 plus 5 is 10. 5 plus 5 is 10. Yeah, okay. Do you think if they took the time to classify the difference between super heavy launches and Starship launches, that they would take the time to classify the landings between super heavy and Starships? You're not thinking about this, right? Do they have anywhere else to land it? Nope. Suborbital ships. What if they do a boost stack burn to land there? That's classified as a different landing, guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They just account for Starship to come down in 2 pieces.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, Striker, 4613 sub. How about landings from the rig?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, Sibin, 1013 sub. Tessa, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they're going to receive starships from the rig at some point, or send them to the rig as a test flight or something. See what I'm talking about? Because why the heck would you need to land more starships at the site? I know what you guys are saying. Oh, but suborbital, it counts as suborbital, EJ. It's suborbital launch. It's suborbital testing. 5 suborbital launches and 5 suborbital lands is 10. 5 plus 5 is 10. I can do basic math. Yeah, you're right. If that was the case, why the hell would SpaceX have the oil rigs, guys? That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's an interesting thing of information. Because don't you think, 5 launches, like they're just suborbital right back to the site? I don't know. Maybe they'll hop it. Nice, Semi. Mm-hmm. But 5 plus 5 is 10. Yeah. So what happens if you have... Oh, guys, yeah, that's right. 5 feet plus 5 meters equals 10 feet meters, right? That's what you guys are doing right now. You understand? Feet meters. Feeders. Yep. Miss Slippy's car is green. Let's just start making up stuff. Let's do the German thing. If we have 5 inches and we have plus 5 feet, we don't say 5 feet, 5 inches. We'll say 5 finches. Birds. We'll use birds as a unit of measurement now. Are booster landings being accounted for at all? Yeah, in a different category. Space art. Sparts. I give up. This is so simple to understand, and it's becoming nonsensical. Jesus Christ. I thought we agreed on bananas the other day. Yeah, no, never mind. You guys, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. They should save money and quit iterating on catching at the site, right? Huh? They don't have the permits to catch there, but they... Alright, now I'm confused. Now I actually am confused. So super heavy launches... Alright, Bobby. Let me explain this. Let me explain this in a way that is the basic I can explain it. Now, stop talking for a second. I know, yes, you're absolutely right. Thank you for demonstrating that you can do basic addition. I appreciate it. I know, you're right. Yeah, no, I know, baby. It's fine. Just chill. 5 plus 5 is 10. I get it. What I'm trying to tell you is that there's leeway in that, meaning that SpaceX won't necessarily be landing 10 starships at that site every time. It's up to 10, meaning that type of nomenclature can mean that they could launch it to other sites and land it there, or receive more starships from another site coming back. You have to look beyond the basic addition. I know. Difficult for some. Difficult. I get it. 5, 10. Yeah, I know. It's rocket science. It's a little bit more than just basic addition. What I'm trying to tell you is that leaves the leeway open, other than just launch 5, land 5, launch 5, land 5. You're thinking very linearly about this. You see what I'm trying to tell you? I get it. This nomenclature, the way this is set up means that you could launch 5 suborbital and 5 orbital and receive 10. I get it. But it's also open-ended to launch stuff to other places and bring it back. Launch in Texas. Land in Florida, for instance. Or launch in Florida, land in Texas. It's open like that. It's open-ended on purpose. Got it, but isn't the entire article specific for Boca Chica? Oh my god. Never mind. It was an exercise in critical thinking, but some of you guys failed miserably. It's okay. It's all right. We'll go on to the next news. It's fine. It's fine. We'll go on to something else. Let's see. What else do we have? I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we have around here. We went through that. I'm looking through. Here, you know what we can do? Here. Here we go. This is what we want right here. Here, just watch this instead. Inspiration 4 will fly over the East Coast around 8. Cool. Tomorrow coverage starts around 6 Eastern, Phil. Diesel. There's the vehicle stabilization system. Possible quick disconnection. I wonder why NASA Spaceflight classifies this as a potential disconnect arm. That's strange. After they finalize the environmental assessment, we will need to see what sort of action SpaceX has to take. After they minimize all impacts, in the worst case, they might need a new EIR. They need to get either a launch vehicle license or an experimental license, so they still have a bit of paperwork yet, but still, this is quite fast. Yeah. This is a huge step, though, Phil, no doubt. It's a huge step in moving towards orbital operations to and from. And potentially to and from other launch sites. Long story short, Bobby, that's what I'm trying to get at, dude. SpaceX mentioned nomenclature in the fine print below that amount of launches in and out of Boca Chica, that the launches could be coming from other places. I get it. They could launch five suborbital out of Boca Chica, 5 full orbital stacks out of Boca Chica, right? Right? But they could also launch 5 orbital out of Boca Chica and 5 orbital off the oil rig and land 10 in Boca Chica. See what I'm getting at? It's open-ended on purpose. It's in that fine print below, though. That's probably what I should have said in the first place. Well, if they said that, I'm all worked up for no reason. Bobby, I thought you were here when I explained that. That's why I'm like, wait, I don't understand how you don't get this. But it's all good, man. Don't worry about it. It's semantics, dude. It doesn't matter in the long run things. We're all hyped up. We're all here because we're hyped up about this. So who cares? I'm at work. It's all good, man. Don't worry, Steve. Don't worry about it. Also, we should start using foot meters. Yep, foot meters. Grove. Hey guys, look here, Bobby. I'm gonna change the subject. Look at the mobile porta potty right there. God damn, the front of that truck looks stupid. I prefer kilo inches. The true one, Smirks, is kilo feet. Thank you very much. Kilofeet. EJ thinks everyone is here when he's here. No, not at all, Austin. I try to keep track of who I'm talking to in chat because I actually value talking to my chat. No, screw me. I just think everybody's here, though, right? Dick. Don't insult my craft, you frick. Newtons per ton. I'm in. No, yarda liters. I like that one, too. You freaking fricks! You freaking fricks! You ruined Elon! When will you learn? We not people, we bots. He paid for beep boop. Are you the bot that can't perform in the bedroom, Goleeks? That's what you admitted before, and then you tried to blame me for it. What the heck's that about? Want to toss it out, man? I'm gonna dish it right back. And that what I said there is based off of a conversation that we had about 3 hours ago. Boom. It's destroyed. This took an interesting turn. Guy tried to blame me for not wanting to have a kid with his wife. Tried to blame me. No habla. What the hell, man? Dude. Oh, man, look at that. There's going to be another one of those right here. Holy crap, dude. Let's just screw the basic math. There's going to be 2 of those. Two launch sites, Smirks. The environmental assessment has 2 of these. 5 más 5 son 10. No. $151. No, 154. Shouldn't there be 5? I mean, yes. Meme question, Lunprod, I get it, but also yes. Is it possible to have 2 launch at the same time? I'll tell you what I'd do, man. I'd have 2 rockets launch at the same time, man. Dude, I don't know. Bobby, I honestly don't see the reason why you couldn't do that. But also at the same time, estoy bien, builder, y tú. But also at the same time, with 140 decibels, like within a half mile of this thing, I'm not sure that 2 rockets launching at the same time is the wisest move. But also at the same time, that would be really neat. Is there propellant limitations for 2 at a time? No, the EIR had 2 separate propellant farms for each one. If it was me, I wouldn't try to launch them both at the same time. I would launch one, wait 30 seconds, and launch the next one. I would stagger them. What's up, Spoon? If it ever happens, it'll probably just be for show. I mean, SpaceX landed 2 Falcon Heavy boosters right next to each other, so... Você tá bem mesmo? Você não parece tão bem. I'm good. Bem. Tudo bem, você? What are the potential landing sites? Well, here, and then they did specify in the EIR that they could go to the rigs too, or any other site. Yeah, they're gnarly big, dude. I also do not get the 2 launch sites so close together. It's like an Armageddon. Why would you risk it? I think because they don't have the space, dude. Sorry it was cold. Dragon will have a food warmer and free Wi-Fi next time. Nice. That's awesome, Forge. Wouldn't that be something, goalie? I'm tired. I got this new job. The new job I got is not easy. Yeah. Do they plan on launching Starship from KSC? The last environmental assessment for Kennedy I can find was in 2019. I think they're going to focus on operations here first, Jarvis, and then expand out to the Cape. But I'm not sure. Second phasing burn from Inspiration 4. Cool. Cargo Road. Yeah, that's right. Will they use grid fins on the way up for more stability? No, the control surfaces aren't facing in the right direction, Blackbird. Grid fins are directional. That's why the bottom of the grid fins has those ridges in it, and the top of them is flat. They don't really do much on the way up. But if the rocket is super heavy, is flying business end first, then, oh yeah, then they'll start doing things. The fact that this is a programmatic environmental assessment means two things. First, any additional changes require less paperwork. Second, they can use these findings for other launch sites to expedite the process. That second one is a pretty big deal. I think it's going to be at least another 3 years before you get one here. I disagree, goalie. With SpaceX being selected for HLS, you know good and well that they're already planning something. We just don't know what it is. Oh, Sim. Wouldn't that would be weird. I think the first Starship to go off here will be a moon mission. Well, if this is any indicator, it takes a second to make all that stuff. Sometimes it's crazy being an undergrad in Aero. I was watching I-4 in a lecture hall with my rocketry team, and someone was just like, yeah, I helped build the trunk on that Dragon. Yeah. Redinga, I'm with you on that one. That happens to me sometimes when I'm streaming. Like, people are just like, hey, I worked on the rocket that you're making in Kerbal. I'm like, ah, all right. DBA of the healthcare system of the region. Have fun with that. The wife informed you that your Route 154 merch is waiting for you. Cool. All right. Do you think they get more starts allowed if they can argue that they need them for HLS to work? Well, their testing regime allows for much more than 5 launches, Finn. But yeah, I mean, maybe. It's programmatic, like Phil said, so it's subject to change. Nice hate, by the way. Hey, stop drinking the haterade. Hat-ate. You alright, Spoon? No. Working on more GSE there in the mid-bay. We need to get to the moon like yesterday. Axel, that's part of the reason why I do what I do, to answer questions like the one that you asked, to show that, yeah, you're right. You need to get the frick off this planet, man. What if we get hit by an asteroid? We're screwed. That's it. We're Roy Body. We're done. You probably don't get that reference. Okay. I like the hat, dang it. No haters, please. No haters. Yarg is okay. Tessa. I don't know, Smirks. It's hard to say. Ooh. Arrow covers. Don't believe his lies, Louiso. Yeah, surprised we haven't been hit by an asteroid yet. Infinite possibilities out there. Axel, what I tell people, dude, is this. You know, a lot of people ask, like, oh, why should we go into space? Why don't we solve our problems down here first? Well, first of all, yeah, they said that when they canceled Apollo. Mm-hmm. Yep. Have we solved all those problems yet? Nah, that's never gonna happen. second of all, going into space can help solve problems down here. Climate monitoring satellite. Man, that's pretty good. Pretty good example. It's pretty good. But also, it's important to go and explore Mars, not just with satellites, with people. It's also important to explore Venus. I wouldn't send people to the surface of Venus. That wouldn't end well, unless the work needs to be done. But it's better to go out and explore to gain a better understanding of the macroscopic picture of our solar system, i.e., why Earth is the way that it is. And if we understand why this planet is the way that it is, and we understand why Mars is the way that it is, and we understand why Venus is the way that it is, because it's pretty neat. We can better solve our problems down here on Earth when it comes to environmental crises. Pretty straightforward stuff, dude. Like, I see that as a non-option because space is not as expensive as people think it is. Here's a tidbit. Ever notice how you never see SpaceX workers welding vertical seams on Starship by hand? Circumferential seam welds are much easier to quality control by hand. All verticals are done by robotic arms in the tents. Longitudinal seam welds are massively sensitive to literally any imperfection. Also, why complicated parts like thrust pucks are shipped from Hawthorne. Cool. That's right, Metal Fluff. Stop being yourself and be a better planet. F1 is more expensive. True story. Okay, Ernok. That'd be awesome, Goalie. And you know he'd say yes. That's right, Young. You never know what we're gonna find out there. It's all out there. You just gotta go and find it. That's right, Floating. That's why I like space the most. What do we got here? I think that's the Ground Service Equipment 8 Forward Dome. I can tell it's that because of the way that it is. And you know what, guys? That's pretty neat. Absolutely, Bobby. Roll of steel cable delivered. Steel cable? Huh. It's scrapped now? Hey, nice car. I like that dually over there, boy. I tell you what, see that red truck over there? That's nice. That forklift's like, hey, howdy, neighbor. How you doing? Okay. I wonder if it runs on propane. Well, I tell you what, boy, that dang old forklift better run on propane. I tell you what. Chad, if you weren't my Chad, I'd give you a hug. Probably, Louisa, yeah. Golly, nice. Never speak like Hank again. That was a sad 2 out of 10. Peg, I think you need to calm down. Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're showing me right now. Why does she look like glass? The tiles are... They're reflective, but they don't have high specularity, to speak in 3D art forms, meaning that they still reflect light, but it's not like a mirror. It's like a matte paint job. You see how it's like diffused in the tiles, like it's not reflecting, it's just shining on it. The space shuttles look like that when they came from the factory too, guys. Here, I'll show you a picture of Endeavour the day it rolled out of the factory. See? That's Endeavour's tiles when it rolled out of the factory. Ignore this part. That part is fake. They put an insert in there for the forward ohms pod. But see the tiles? Same thing. Look at how shiny it is. It's so shiny it looks fake. It's almost weird seeing a space shuttle. It's almost weird seeing a space shuttle without like its burnt up Nomex on the top. Oh, that's hot. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. See the extra piece of RCC right there? That was field modified. If you look at Columbia when it rolls out to the factory, it doesn't have that piece, that strip of RCC right there, reinforced carbon-carbon. They added that after a couple of shuttle flights, and then Endeavour came with it from the factory. RCC, reinforced carbon-carbon. It's the carbon composite nose cone from the space shuttle. The space shuttle doesn't work without this. Tiles aren't enough to withstand the heat. Without that, space shuttle doesn't come home. Without the RCC on the wing leading edges, the space shuttle does not come home. There's a reason why I know that. Don't like the reason, but there's a reason why I know that. Why not RCC the whole thing? Heavy. It's too heavy. It's too heavy, dudes. The tiles have the consistency of styrofoam. They're about as light as styrofoam. And they can withstand 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 1,600 C. That's a lot for something that has the consistency and lightness of styrofoam. That's why SpaceX is using tiles as well, because they're light. Okay. What did they use to reinforce the carbon? I don't know, carbon composite. It's probably built like a fairing if I had to guess, Hellfish, but I'm not exactly sure. Did that fall off when the shuttle got hit from reentry? Ansel, they lost part of the RCC on the wing leading edge. Yeah. The nose cone was just fine. The nose cone did its job, but yeah. Just got to see a shuttle for the first time when here at KSC. Good God, the thing is glorious up close. It's amazing how big it is, Entropy. Yeah. You thought you realized how big the shuttle was, and then you go and stand next to it, and you're like, what the hell is this thing? Bigger than you thought. Those long latitudinal seams with rough edges are very concerning, especially on the nose section. Plasmas are going to love those. Prey, I've been pointing out every time we look at one of these. See this right here? The tile that looks like a baseball home plate? Yeah, see this stuff going on right here? Yeah. No. Yeah, that's not gonna end. That's not gonna end well. You see that right there? That ain't gonna jive too well with hypersonic flow. I know that for a fact. I explained why the other day, Prey. Long story short, if you have a tile here and you have a tile here, even a little tiny, like, infinitesimally small edge right there. At hypersonic speeds, what that is going to do is force the plasma in between the tiles. And if the plasma is getting heated on the top, or if the tile is getting heated by plasma on the top and on the side, it won't perform correctly. They figured that one out on STS-27, another shuttle mission that almost didn't come back. Yeah, it turns out that if you heat the side of the tiles, they don't work too well. So they get like a plasma crowbar behind the tile. Correct. Exactly. That's exactly what it does. Look. So they had an impact right here. STS-27 had one of the SRB parachute mortars explode while the SRB was still attached. The mortar went off, right? The parachute didn't deploy or anything, right? But one of the nose cone things popped off, and it shattered. It basically was a shotgun blast at the side of the shuttle's thermal protection system. And see how it took a chunk out of the tile? Well, guess what happened? You can literally see the burn marks. Plasma came in here like this, and it went down underneath this tile and started melting it from the back, and it melted the adhesive, so the tile popped off. those little gaps between the tiles will cause massive damage. I'm not sure why SpaceX is doing that way. There's a picture of it. Look. Ooh, baby. Yeah, that's not good. Now, I don't know. My guess for SpaceX, dude, to be 100% honest with you, is just get the tiles on there and send it. I don't think this is a reflection of SpaceX's craftsmanship or anything. I know that they could do this right. You know how I know? Because look at the wing. Look at the tiles are perfectly spaced and perfectly edged here on the wing correctly. See that? It's just right here where we're seeing problems. And now I'm not entirely sure why that's happening. Why is there problems here but not problems here? You know, these tiles are mechanically adhered. These ones are glued, I think. So that tells me that it was more just get the tiles on there and get it good enough to get a good simulation or get a good data point and send it. They'll get better over time. You know what I mean? Those tiles are not okay. Yeah, that's right. It may smooth out when the entire ship expands under heat. That's also another thing that could happen. That's what I'm banking on, believe it or not. Oh, it's so cool though. It's so damn pretty. If they just slap them on there, then it won't provide usable data. So it's more likely that it's going to expand under heat and basically work correctly. That's my guess. Either that or it's just put it on there and send it and get to the next one. It's one or the other, dude. I don't think it's a reflection of SpaceX's craftsmanship at all. Weren't the flap tiles installed off-site? Some of them. Some of them were, Entropy. It's called a bow shock. It's what happens with that step in the OML of the vehicle. Outer mold line. The plasma knife, mate. Hey guys, look at that porta potty right there. You see that? You see the porta potty? Yep, see it right here? If this thing comes out of the plasma, then they're in good shape for the future. Even if it doesn't, AJ, they'll figure it out. For scale, how big is one of the thermal tiles? Soccer ball. Anti-sim. Soccer ball or rest of the world football. Yeah, a dinner plate. Yeah, Ray, about there. Easier way to say is your face. Saying I got a fat head? Rest of the world ball. One of the reasons the entire ship is made from the same alloy is because it makes thermal expansion much easier to solve. Otherwise, there's no reason to make the flaps from high chromium stainless. There you go. There's the trolley section. Yeah, Hellfish, for sure. But if that was the case, they would do waterfall testing, right? It would be like SLS. I think you're talking about the fidelity of the thermal protection system. So that tells me that it's going to expand when they go to fly it. Well, Bond, that's what we're talking about. Are the tiles self-sealing during EI? Yeah, I think so. Oh wow, this is actually a lot cheaper than I thought it would be. Actual spaceflight isn't as expensive as everybody thinks it is, dude. It never has been. Dude, if you're in the US and you pay taxes, right? For every federal tax dollar that you pay, a half of a penny goes to NASA. Less than half of a penny. Spaceflight ain't expensive, man. You can do both of those things. Like I was telling you. With the hull of Starship and super heavy, steel might not need the tiles to be that spot on. Maybe. How much of that goes to the military? About 10 cents, something like that. It might be more than that. Let me do the math out. Hold on. That was napkin math. Let me do it out correctly. Give me 1 second. So NASA gets about $20 billion a year, give or take. The military gets about 600. 600. So if we take 600 and we divide that by 20, you get 30. So the military gets 30 times as much. So if 0.45% of a cent is how much NASA get, you times that by 30, yeah. 13.5 cents on the tax dollar goes to defense spending. Yep. So dime wasn't too far off. And even then, that's not that much, is it? Sometimes I ask, where's the other 90 cents going, guys? Like, where's the other 90 cents going, bros? That'd be kind of cool, IQ, yeah. I mean, but you get breakdowns by funding, but yeah. So we take 80 from 200, and we make a deal. We subtract 80 from 200, and we make a deal. To build your impressive highways. I mean, the highways are pretty damn impressive, I will say that. But yeah, I mean, if you're saying like, oh, it's too expensive when it comes to spaceflight, you're barking up the wrong tree. You're barking up the wrong tree. Entropy, you don't want to know. You don't want to know how much that would be. I'll point out, though, that the military turns out some of the most skilled individuals in STEM fields. John, I have no problem with 15 cents on the dollar going to defense. I've never had a problem with defense spending. Very unpopular opinion on the internet nowadays. I never had a problem with it. It's fine with me. It's never bothered me. When the structure is cryogenic, it'll pull those tiles closer together, but the gaps are pretty big, or a pretty big deal, especially for re-entry. Too big of a gap creates turbulent flow downstream. Didn't say you. Yeah, just pointing it out. Yep. Surprised there's no moon base. We'll work on it, Axel. We're getting there. Had to figure out which SCA was behind Endeavour in that image. 5 windows on the side, top section, so it's N1. It's N1 911. There you go. I don't know what you're talking about, Tessa. I don't recall that ever happening ever. When you hop into GTA tomorrow, will you be willing to show me how to do a hairpin U-turn in an open-wheel car? I can't seem to figure it out. Slow down before the corner. Figure out the minimum speed that you need to take the corner. Slow down before it, then turn. Don't brake and turn at the same time, John. That's a lot of people's mistakes. Can you imagine if NASA got even half the amount spent on defense spending? Dude, you know what? Nothing would get done. Because spaceflight is not that expensive. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys, dude. NASA doesn't need the military's budget. That's a false dichotomy. Whoever spouts that nonsense is, and I'm not saying it's, like you said, I'm just trying to explain it. What I'm trying to tell you is that NASA doesn't need $600 billion, $700 billion. NASA's budget could be doubled, and that's fine. NASA's budget is around $20 billion. If it was $40 billion, NASA could do everything that we want. Mars base, moon base, heavy launch vehicles, reusable transport. That's it. That's fine. Totally fine. That is enough to fund the program. No problem. Like, you don't go to the supermarket with $1,000 and spend $1,000 on food. Why? Because food doesn't cost that much, right? you'd go to the supermarket and spend like $100 on food, like worst case, 200 worst case scenario, 300 if you live in an affluent area, right? And then you'd spend the extra $700 on superchargers for your car projects. Overfunding causes waste. You can't eat a supercharger, understand? I mean, I'm sure somebody's probably attempted that somewhere at some point, but you get the idea. It's probably not good for you. I mean, you'll get your iron, you know. Obviously, EJ doesn't have kids. Rob, this is you. This is the point that I'm trying to make. It's right here. It's traveling on an even plane of existence. You get what I'm trying to say, right? I know it's just a joke. I'm kidding. Most politicians don't care about space. That's not entirely true. Politicians care about having jobs in their congressional district at the federal level. A lot of politicians care about it. More than you might think. Is EJ trying to embed some justification in his to get approval to buy something? Superchargers aren't $700. They're a couple grand, but whatever. Chad needs to remember that 304L is austenitic stainless that has low thermal conductivity and low rate of oxidization, but once it does get hot, it gets soft and loses hardness. They can get away with thinner tiles, but not broken tiles. Yep. What do you think of this pod design that you came up with? It's very 9.5. What is this? I like where your mind's at, dude. I like where your mind's at. Oh, man. We went through a lot of stuff today. We covered a lot of ground. Spreading its wings. Shuttlenik. Yep. Yeah. It's interesting to see what that stainless steel is going to do. Starship, though, guys, yeah, Starship is going to... It's going to re-enter, not in a way that you think it's going to re-enter. It's actually going to be... Starship isn't going to, go like this and fly through re-entry like this. It's not going to do that. Most of Starship's re-entry will be 90 degrees to the prograde vector. And that's why it does. That's why it only needs tiles, and why it doesn't have like a RCC nose cone or anything. So here, I'll show you why it's going to do that. Here, take a look at this. This old infographic from the NACA. Check it out. So here's a pod, right? There's a dart. This doesn't push. This doesn't work very well. The reason why this doesn't work very well, and the lines here are plasma, by the way, is because it'll get too hot. With a boundary layer like that, with a low theta angle off the vehicle, it's gonna melt. Nuclear warheads take this trajectory. Now, manned capsule concept. We can all see where that came from. You see how the bottom shape, whatever the bottom shape is that gets exposed to the oncoming plasma in real life, it basically pushes it out and away in that shape. Now they tried a flat edge right here, and the flat edge for a missile nose cone accumulated way too much heat. See how thick that line is? Now look at this one up here. If you take Starship, right, and you looked at it from the front, like this, that blunt body concept makes a lot more sense. So the nose cone from Starship is going to be right here, and then the flappy winglings are going to be right there. You see how far away the plasma boundary layer is from the vehicle in this concept? See that? That's why if we go back and we look at a picture of Starship, well, guess what? How much tiling does Starship have on it if you look at it from the front? If you're looking at it from the front like this way, if Starship is pointed at you like that, right? How much tiling does it have on it from the front? Well, it's only about half. There's your reason, up there. Yeah, Dragon Lucky, that's why I like it. It's a never-ending rabbit hole of learning things. And look at the leeward side. Look at the side that's not facing the plasma. It's super, super low pressure over there. i.e., it's not going to be very hot. Excellent. Spaceflight isn't expensive. But bureaucracy is. Imagine what NASA could do if they were allowed to work like a private company. You know what makes NASA do that explode? Deadlines. Straight up, dude. Deadlines. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Deadlines. That's the only way you can enforce accountability in the public sector. When it comes to NASA. What has NASA not had for the past 50 years? Go ahead, they know. Deadlines. So, what happens? Even with funding, nothing happens. You gotta have deadlines. You have to have interim goals. You have to have a plan. You can't just say we're going to build a space shuttle and then maybe a space station later, because then nothing happens. There's no accountability. Why do you think I loved it when Jim, under the Transitional Authorization Act, announced the Artemis program? Because it was deadlines. It shaped everything up. It was the kick in the pants that NASA needed. That's what you need to do to get NASA, to get the bureaucracy away. You need accountability through deadlines. That's really important, dude. Desecrate, 20-month resub. Howdy, what's going on? I miss Jim Bobby. I miss him, dude. I miss him. NASA went back to being, no, we can't tell anybody what we're doing. It's a shame. It's a shame. And I'm not saying that Bill's a bad administrator either. He's doing just fine. But it doesn't have the... Like, when's the last time you saw Bill publicly? I've only seen pictures of him looking at the rockets, or pictures of him doing this, pictures of him doing that. Why not do a space elevator? Axel, to build a space elevator, we need to build a building 25,000 kilometers tall. Why? Because in order for a space elevator to work correctly and not basically topple over, it needs a big counterweight at the end. And that counterweight has to be able to basically hover over the base of the elevator, right? You can't just make an elevator halfway up there. That's not how that works. It'll fall. It'll come back down. Why? Because you can't do a geostationary orbit in low Earth orbit. You can't do that. You would need a counterweight out at geostationary. And basically, if you tied a string to a rock, right, and you started spinning the rock like that, exactly that, because the Earth is spinning. That rock would need to, the revolutions per minute of the rock needs to match the revolutions, well, not revolutions per minute, but it needs to be 23 or 24 hours, right? It needs to be 1 day, right? Because 1 day is one rotation, right? If you don't, then the elevator just falls back down, right? 25,000 kilometers, or no, not 25,000, 38,000, excuse me. It's 23,500 miles, 38,000 kilometers that way. We have trouble right now building a building 1 kilometer tall. Kind of missed the mark there. It doesn't make sense to do something like that in Earth's gravwell, dude. On the moon, though, maybe. Smarks, 48 months. Did you see the research paper on making a lunar elevator that extends to just above Earth's geostationary orbit? Yeah, that's even further, Talon. That's like what is that, 200,000 miles? I mean, we could, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, that's never happening. Tizza, it's just easy. It's easier to build a rocket. It's just build the rocket. Rockets are the easiest way. You know? They want to build an elevator to extend to geostationary? No. I'm telling you why that is an extraordinarily difficult concept to solve, Tiger. It's not impossible. Not impossible. Just a really hard problem to solve. Actually, honestly, at that point, I'd be worried about messing with Earth's axial tilt. A space elevator could cause climate change. Yeah, yeah, it really could. Now that I'm really thinking about that. Yeah, let's not do that. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Yeah, let's not do that. Alright, anyway. Fellas, let's jump into KSP. We got a launch to do. Speaking of KSP, I thought I'd show you this. Did you see the 37 engine Super Heavy will be 100 decibels at South Padre Island? I did see that. We were talking about that. Yep. Then you need two. One on each side. Oh. That's why I'm a fan of the launch loop. It uses all available tech that's already been proven and materials we already have, not exotic stuff that might be needed for a space elevator concept. Are you racing tonight? Yeah. Yeah, spin launch. Yeah, no, here, just look at this. This is coming from the Kerbal developers here, from the KSP Twitter account. Take a look. What do you think? That's, they were working on exhaust plumes for KSP2. Leave a public comment, Boris. Oh, that's so cool. Oh my goodness. Did you see that? Pretty cool. When rocket engines fly, when they first ignite down here on the surface, the plume tends to be more of a column shape. The reason is because of atmospheric pressure. Because the gas getting shot out has the entire weight of the atmosphere under it, the gas tends to just come out in a column, like that. And it tends to collapse in on itself, giving you this shock cone phenomenon right here, the Mach diamonds. See those things? See that? The plume goes in and out on itself. But when when ambient pressure starts going down and an engine gets higher and higher up into the atmosphere, well, there's no pressure to hold that plume in that shape. So the plume, because it's hot, it expands it. And if the pressure goes down, that hot plume is allowed to expand easier. See? I think KSP2 will have lots more difficulty settings with stuff like this. I mean, maybe. Oh, that's so dang cool. Dude, they really nailed it, didn't they? That looks exactly like an upper stage engine firing. That looks like Falcon 9's second stage exhaust cloud. It looks, dude, that's exactly what that looks like. They nailed it. If you think we could have gotten a camera on an SR-71 looking back at the exhaust when it was flying at Mach 3, we would have seen the expansion. Yeah, maybe. I don't, Pythos, I don't think the J58, even in overdrive like that, is going to move as much gas as a rocket engine, but I could be wrong. Its maximum expansion isn't enough, though, right? At the max angle, shouldn't it be approaching 90 degrees from the end of the nozzle? Something like that, Tiger. But, I mean, yeah, kind of. Are those lines at low atmospheric pressure from the injector geometry? There could be a bunch of different things that make those lines, Phil. By the way, KSCVC now has 2 Falcon Heavy boosters. Yeah, Forge, I already knew. I couldn't say anything, though. Wait till you realize that there's going to be another one. There's a forum post to go with it. There's a forum post to go with it. Boom! What's this? What do you got for me? Pray. How many NDAs are you under? I'm not under an NDA. I just can be trusted with information because I'm not a child. Who's this? So Chris, if you know pressure at your current altitude and chamber or exhaust pressure for your nozzle, that will dictate your exhaust pattern. Maybe this is one step too complicated, but would have been a neat approach. Hey. Hey. Oh. Oh. Yes. Oh, feed me your math. I want to eat your numbers. Imagine keeping your word. I know, Forlorn. Hard concept for some people to rationalize in this day and age. Do you know what I'm talking about? That freaking cockroach. Let me see. What is Chris saying here? If you know pressure at your current altitude and chamber or exhaust pressure for your nozzle, that will dictate your exhaust pattern. Maybe this is one step too complicated. I just sent this figure to a student yesterday. Okay. Normalized pressure. So, Pray, if I'm looking at this correctly, so you have normalized pressure. You have P divided by P and PO. So initial pressure divided by actual pressure nets this graph, which should net you, and I assume that the exhaust chamber, the exhaust pressure is correlated. I'm Count Cookie Monster. Oh, I love my cookies. I have something related to this you'll like. 1 minute. Yeah. Long story short, what Chris is trying to show, what Chris is showing, well, not trying, what he's showing is basically the math behind this. Which is pretty cool. The more and more I get involved here, the more and more I like hypersonics. Hypersonics is just the freaking coolest thing ever. Is that weird? I suppose it's not weird for this channel, but it's a little weird. Like, that's fascinating. It's fascinating to me. Hypersonics to me are super scary. I don't think they're super scary. I think they're freaking cool. I think that's really neat. I wonder will the vacuum engines be unstable at sea level? That would be cool. Well, Lego, if Kerbal really wanted to up the difficulty settings, if you tried to operate a vacuum engine down here, it would overheat and explode. Usually that's pronounced P not with the subscript of 0. Got it? I have to go P, not.